Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I am Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilor Justin Dick, Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, and Rick Howarth. Councilman Espiro is not present unless he's remote. Is he remote? Not present. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement personnel serving as sergeant of arms for this evening's meeting. Tonight, we have Police Chief Corey Kuhn in the back of the room. If everyone would please rise, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For members of the public in attendance, there are no public hearings on the agenda this evening, so the public comment portion of the meeting, which shortly will be the only opportunity for public comment regarding items on this evening's agenda or matters not on the agenda that pertain to the business of the city of Sandpoint. If you'd like to speak, please complete a sign-up card at the back and hand it to staff. At the special meeting last week, Council approved a revised legal services agreement with Lake City Law Group, including clarification regarding the appointment of Fonda Jovic continuing as our city attorney. In addition to the language that has been approved with the agreement, I would like to ask Council if we could please have a motion to vote on the specifically confirming this appointment. This will be I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dick, second by Duquette. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Roll?
Yes.
Sorry. Counselor Dick?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Howarth?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much. I will meet up with Ms. Jovic following the meeting and administer the oath of office, and we'll work with the clerk to ensure that we have an official certificate of appointment. Moving on, do councils have any general announcements or reports this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I do.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
Our Sustainability Committee meeting was September 23rd. I did not get to share last time. We had everybody present unless they were on Zoom. We talked about the Idaho open meeting law and learned how to make an amendment to the agenda. So we're all learning. We approved the minutes. We had a little talk by Holly about a downtown revitalization phase 3 citizen advisory committee. They wanted people from each committee. And so Diana Duke volunteered to do that. We rescheduled our November and December meetings because of holidays, but you can find those on the calendar. We talked about how to communicate with each other, talked about getting email addresses at the city so that they would not become public record if they were your own. And who could talk to who, talked about our sustainability plan, which is our big focus, trying to get one together. We got a report from Mary Wilco's about a comparable city sustainability plan, and Deborah Dickerson had one on the regional university sustainability programs for partnership. And had roundtable, talked about battery recycling, and I just handed out the recycling boxes. And that was it.
Thank you, Council President Duquette. Any other council announcements or reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Council President Rule.
The Ped Bike Committee met on October 9th, and they discussed the O'Connell Estates subdivision, which is in the vicinity of Samuelson Woodland Drive, making some comments about 10 to 12-foot pathways, striping some bike lanes along Woodland, multi-use pathways along Woodland, and a rectangular flashing beacon for the subdivision entrance. Also, it's been long enough that they re-elected their board chair, Kate Huseman, and then they elected a new vice chair, Aaron Billings. Also, election of a downtown revitalization phase 3 citizen. Radley Peterson was nominated and given the duty to be on that phase 3 revitalization committee. And then there was more discussion about the Fourth Avenue sidewalk project and making sure there's some alignments and connections all the way to the Third Street Pier and how they feel like that would work best for pedestrians. And then they did not have time to discuss downtown bike parking, which they've done a little assessment of and move that on to the next meeting.
Thank you, Council President Rule. Any other council announcements or reports?
Yep, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Dick.
The Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission met yesterday, October 14th. We had a fantastic meeting. I do want to thank Ellie. Ellie has been elected our board chair once again. She does a fantastic job, and everybody in that group is working towards the same goals. We really appreciate everybody in there. The two most pertinent things I'd like to speak about, we had a great conversation about the street lamp banner program. Those are your street lamps downtown that hold the flower baskets. We talked about a potential call for art for artists to be on there to potentially change it out seasonally, reaching out and having a meeting with the downtown Sandpoint shopping district to see if they want to get involved, as well as our Sandpoint area nonprofits. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to see if we can get those things up and running again. Second part, and a huge thank you to Jason and Bill Dean and the rest of the staff and yourself, Mayor. This has been 2 years in the making. We had an initial conversation on our Commercial A historic preservation update and downtown overlay. Bill came in and kind of told us where he was at. He's basically starting at the foundation. We are missing a zoning administration chapter for putting together the downtown overlay. Bill's about 70% done with it. So we're very excited to work through that and come back and share it at council here when he's finished and we've worked through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dick. Any other council announcements or reports? Council members, just I did have Melissa, our city clerk, send out to the subcommittees, convey to them for based on your guidance, asking for their 3 priorities for the next year. So we should be getting those back, or you should be discussing those further in committee. Moving on with no additional council announcements or reports, I'll invite our department heads to come up. We've got a lot going on in public works. So Holly Ellis, if you might come up and give us a brief update on all the work that you're doing right now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Leaf pickup is coming up, so you'll see that scheduled coming in the next month. Leaf pickup is going to be scheduled. It'll be here before you know it. It's in the next four weeks, so stay tuned for that. Pine Street paving, that project went out to bid. We'll discuss that tonight, but we do hope to do a mill and overlay this fall. This is on Pine Street between Boyer and Division. Again, more at tonight. The Boyer culvert, the culvert is set to arrive in the next week. So we are hoping to put that culvert in place, have everything buttoned up, and again, paved and put back before the snow flies. Early November is our target to reopen that road. So stay tuned for more details. The lift stations are wrapping up. They were just commissioned on Monday, so everything went well with that original turn on for our lift stations at City Beach and Superior and First. Next month, we'll have a couple things from Public Works coming to council for consideration. We'll give you an update on the Cedar reconstruction project. As you last recall, we had a meeting back in May, I believe. And so we'll check base where we're at and make sure that we're collecting the comments that we heard from council accurately. We'll also next month consider awarding a contract for the Bridge and First improvements to widen that sidewalk where the development is. It's kind of a wall and wider sidewalk on the north side of Bridge and First. We'll also discuss next month awarding a design contract for the downtown revitalization phase 3 project. This is the final SURA funded portion of the downtown revitalization on First Avenue from Bridge Street as far south as we can go. So a lot of things coming in the next month. The last thing to highlight, and last but certainly not least is our bond election. October 18th is our open house. That's Saturday morning. Again, October 18th, 10 a.m. right here at council chambers. So we do hope that to remind the public to attend this meeting as we prepare for the November 4th election.
And Holly, one other thing, just to inform the council, maybe you can speak to the anticipated community development block grant. I know that's a collaborative effort, but for the downtown, I think we're going to have a public hearing in November.
We do. When we come to council with the downtown revitalization phase 3 project and the request to award a design contract, we also intend to request council to approve application and have a public hearing for the block grant. We're hoping that we can find, it's a approximately $500,000 federal grant opportunities to support downtown revitalization. And we hope to apply for this permit that can help support this downtown revitalization phase 3 project. So that'll come to you next month as well.
Awesome.
Hoping to offset the cost of that SURA funded project.
Yeah, we just need to figure out which components we're going to be applying in that block grant. And as some of you may recall, I sit on that committee, YAC, that votes on those block grants. I'll visit with them to make sure I'm not conflicted out. But look forward to that getting submitted. And council, if you have any questions on that, please reach out to staff.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
may I ask Holly a question, please?
Please, absolutely.
I've talked to you before about a lot of people, my neighbors have been asking me questions. And one of the big issues is increase in their user fees. And some of them are really worried about that, whether the bond passes or not. Either way, they're going to increase. You responded to me, and this is kind of a question for both you and the mayor. You responded to me that you would be open to looking into non-rate funded assistance, grants or donation supported hardship funds to help qualifying households. And then you said, if council wants us to evaluate affordability options, we could explore other legally viable paths. Is that something I should put on the agenda to talk about? Or is that something?
Councilwoman Duquette, at this point, here's how it's likely to play out. The bond election will occur. It should be binary. It'll either be approved or it won't. If it's approved, based on the preliminary analysis, our rates would represent approximately 5% of annual household income in the city of Sandpoint, just for sewer. Historically and traditionally, the federal government has stepped in and offered loan forgiveness or grants for communities where sewer rates exceed 2% of household income. So if it passes, we would then have the data and the approved ability to go into debt, and we would take all of that to our partners at the federal government and at the state. So if it passes, we will all work very hard to secure grant funding. And it's just a quirk of the way the funding works. Some of the federal programs require you to secure your bond prior to them committing to funding. If it doesn't pass, we will approach them the same way and say, our voters, rejected this. We will have the option to go to something called judicial confirmation. We'll have to make that decision. That's where a local or a judge gets to determine if it's a necessary and ordinary expenditure. If we choose to go that route, that decision may be favorable or unfavorable, but it just, again, allows us to go into debt. But if the bond fails, we will continue to ring every bell in the nation that I can ring to try to secure more federal and state grant funding. I'm working very hard at the state level down in Boise on an infrastructure subcommittee, calling attention to the fact that 50% of Idaho sewer plants are failing their permit requirements. So we're not alone. It's a massive problem, and I'm incredibly sensitive to the potential increase in rates, and we'll be continuing to talk about this as the next few months unfold.
Okay, because no matter, rates are going to go up and people are concerned who have very low incomes. And Holly just said that we could explore if council wants us. So I guess I wondered if
Yep.
that's something.
I
we
think at this point, we need to at least see how the bond election
Okay.
plays out and then what success we have. At some point, we have to make these repairs and improvements to the replacement to the wastewater plant. And, like any loan, you have to pay it back. So we would have to figure out how we do that outside of utility payments and what our options might be. So I think it's a little premature. It's certainly something to keep on your radar,
Okay, it's just people are concerned, no matter.
rightfully so.
Holly, what time was the open house?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Thank
10
you.
a.m. Saturday, right here at council chambers.
Any other questions for Holly at this time? Holly, thanks for all your hard work and what you and the crew are doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
Just
Council
to
President. Rowe.
compliment Holly, I've had several neighbors appreciate that the road that had the sewer sinkhole issue has been repaved.
Pass that on, thanks.
Quick other council updates, Director Welker.
Good evening, council. I don't usually do this during my updates, but I'm going to share my screen with you really quick because I have something very exciting to show you. So one moment. Okay, this photo as it comes up was taken about 2.5 hours ago. This is at Traverse Park. That's Dave and Jed, 2 local timber framers. The wood you see here was milled at a local mill down in Sagal from locally harvested lumber. And the funds that are helping support this came from our friends at the Rotary Club. I want to thank Chris Chambers, who's here tonight. Their donation is what's making this possible. We also owe thanks to HMH Engineering, which donated a big chunk of the engineering work that went into this, and Skyrite Roofing, which is donating about half of the material for the roof that's going to go on next week. So I've got one more picture to show you because before the workday ended, this is what it looked like. So we've now got, I don't know, about a fourth, one side of it is vertical. So swing by over the next 2 days. This thing's going to be done on Friday this week. The structure next week will be the roof and the tongue and groove ceiling that's going to go inside of it. And we've got our team here ordering 6 picnic tables from the Kalispel tribe. They're going to match the benches that you've already got all around Traverse Park. Beautiful, fabricated over in Husk, Washington by our friends at the Kalispel tribe. So this project's coming together. I think about 2 weeks from now, we're going to be done. Beautiful new picnic shelter. And it's going to have an awesome Rotary logo at the front of it, like a lot of great picnic shelters around Sandpoint. So thanks to our Rotary Club for their support on this project. Other updates, I'm going to keep it to Parks and Rec today. There's a lot going on in planning and building as well, but we're short on time. So the RV campground statements of qualification came in last Friday for the improvements to the RV campground at City Beach. We have a committee convening next week to review those. We ended up with 6 submittals. Really good turnout, a lot of interest. Almost every firm that came for our pre-app walkthrough is interested in participating in that project. And since Joel wasn't able to join us at the Parks Commission meeting last week, I'll give you a brief update on that. The Parks Commission met. We went over our capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2026, and we did a ranking exercise. And I'm excited to reveal those rankings to the Parks Commission next month, and I think they'll be bringing some recommendations for basically their like top, in the mayor's request, their top 3 priorities for the next year as far as what parks projects they'd like us to focus on outside of those that we're already committed to. I do want to give you some updates on the James E. Russell Sports Center. Since launching our new software about 3 weeks ago, we have grown our annual membership from 59 to 117. That is a doubling of membership in 3 weeks. That is just the annual members. We've also added a bunch of monthly members. And another important metric is that we've added 84 guest members. This is not even an option we had under the previous software, but when people want to come pay the daily play fee, they're now creating an account in our app. They don't have to, they can come in and pay with their credit card, but we are urging people to sign up for the Court Reserve app. That gets them a guest membership. It's free, but then you come and you pay the daily play fee. But importantly, it brings them into our ecosystem. They're now on our email chains. They're on our text messages. They know they can look at the calendar on their phone and see all the upcoming events and programs going on at the Sports Center. So we expect to see a lot. And I think a lot of these new annual members are people who initially signed up as guest members and really quickly realized they're better off just paying the monthly membership fee or the annual membership fee, which is paid monthly, and playing for free every time they come. So Ryan, huge shout out to Ryan. Go stop by. It's bustling over there as the temperatures drop. Over the weekend, we had our first $1,000 day at the Sports Center. We made $1,150 on Saturday and another $750 on Sunday. That's just in daily play fees and new memberships that signed up. So we made $2,000 over the weekend. Absolutely outstanding performance financially, but more importantly, it's been packed in there. We were only open 6 hours on Saturday and Sunday. This weekend, we're extending our Saturday operating hours to meet the demand. People were being turned away at the door on Saturday morning, unfortunately, because every single court was being used. Of course, the rain had a lot to do with that. So we are now up to 239 members at the James Russell Sports Center, including those 84 guest members. So that number's just pretty much doubled since late summer. So I really want to give Ryan a lot of credit. Outside of tennis and pickleball, we also have a futsal league. It's indoor soccer. It's going to start December 1st. It's going to run for 10 weeks, 4 days a week. They're going to use 2 courts. It's a partnership with Albion Soccer and Strikers Soccer Leagues in Sandpoint. So you're going to see a lot of kids of all ages out there playing indoor soccer for 10 weeks, 4 days a week, starting in December. Other programs at JER include the PPC Ladder League every Sunday in November, kids after-school tennis lessons starting October 27th, co-ed tennis skills and drills starting November 3rd, men's doubles nights starting November, the first week of November, PPC Ladies Night, Women's Doubles League, LPOSD Pickleball Night for school district employees, weekend adult and co-ed tennis lessons throughout November. And on November 8th, we'll be hosting the 7B Cornhole Tournament in there. So there's so much going on. Ryan's just been a joy to work with. He's a great leader over there. He deserves a lot of credit. And I really encourage you guys to go check it out, especially once that picnic shelter's done. Bring your lunch in a couple weeks. If we still have nice weather, come enjoy the new shelter and drop by the sports center. So I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Jason, and just hats off to you and Ryan and everyone else who's made that come together. I couldn't be more proud, and you've been so responsive to our needs, and just way to go. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Council members, any question for Director Welker?
Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you. One last note, council members, I am a panelist at the I-Court annual gathering. That's the Idaho Conference on Recreation and Tourism. Next Wednesday and Thursday, I will be in Idaho Falls, but I'll be available by phone most of the time and email as well. So I will not be in the office. With that, we will now proceed with the general public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so and hand it to a staff member at the back of the room. General comment time provides an opportunity for members of the public in attendance to address the mayor and council regarding items included on this evening's agenda under the consent calendar or old business. For the purpose of general public forum, you are also welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the city or the business, pertinent to business of the city of Sandpoint, not included on the agenda and not anticipated or scheduled for future public hearing. Please note, council cannot take testimony on any planning or land use related matter outside of an official hearing. I'd like to make everyone aware the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chamber's entry doors. In summary, I'd ask everyone please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly or disruptive. Please no calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Public comment time is for comment only, no questions or debate. You're welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. This is the only general public comment time that will be offered this evening. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise their hand on Zoom at this time. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name and whether you reside in Sandpoint city limits. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. And with that, Madam Clerk, is anyone signed to speak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have Stuart Howe.
Yeah, hello,
Good
Mayor
evening.
and Council. Thank you for the good works that you do. I've been a resident for 5 years now, and I wanted to make a couple of statements that I'll follow up on, hopefully at the next council meeting. I've seen an alarming increase in graffiti around town, and I went and spoke with officials at the police department today. They're aware of it. They're going to work to clean it up. It's primarily under the bridges around town, Bridge Street, and along the bicycle path, which goes to Ponderay along Sand Creek. So the nature and the amount of this graffiti is concerning because I come from areas where I saw the correlation between an increase in this type of graffiti. Now, a lot of it sure is, kids, but some of it is really kind of has let's just say, dark undertones. And when that increases in areas where I've lived, then the petty crime increases. And so just want to make you aware of that. And I'm going to follow up. There's also a video report that I did with Casey Whalen. That is up on Rumble and North Idaho Exposed. And it shows all of it. Some of it's kind of really interesting to see if you haven't been out there looking in the underpasses and filming the, it's kind of disturbing. The other issue is that, you know, when I came here, I went to city council and a lot of you were wearing masks. Some of you weren't actually here 5 years ago, but I just think it's important to note that it looks like there's going to be another round of a, you know, COVID type situation, and that I would urge everybody to really look into the validity of the emergency that was declared last time and potentially next time. Closing businesses that are deemed, you know, unimportant or non-essential probably won't go as smoothly as it did last time. And there will be, I think, potential for public pushback. And I would urge you all to get out ahead of that, because it's just, it turns out a lot of that was a big hoax, you know, the whole COVID thing, and there was financial incentives behind that. The hospitals certainly are a large source of revenue, and IACI, I believe it is called, it was pointed out to me by some of our representatives in Boise, that a lot of the funding for governors comes from the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry. Basically, she told me they're running Idaho and then its hospitals, you know, where this money flows from for reelection. So I just would get out ahead of this, please, and side with the residents and the Constitution if they try to pull this, you know, this canard again. A lot of people died unnecessarily, lost their businesses unnecessarily. The emergency wasn't what they said it was, and it won't be what they say it is next time. So anyway, thanks for what you do. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Howell.
Mr. Mayor, we have Christine Moon.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I would like to use the public forum tonight to bring people's attention to food insecurity in Sandpoint. So food insecurity has been rising and is projected to continue to rise. And I would like to pay tribute to those who are working to alleviate it. So people who are having difficulty providing food for themselves or for their families should know that there are places to go every single day to get food. There are people working to provide food. And those organizations need help. So people who aren't experiencing food insecurity could be contributing either with their time or their resources to help. And those, this is not a complete list, but there is the Bonner Community Food Bank here in Sandpoint, the SASE, Sandpoint Area Seniors Inc. They provide lunch every day, and they also send out drivers who are volunteers all around the community to bring food to people in their homes. Churches provide every single weeknight free meals. People can just come, and sometimes I know at the Methodist Church, they were having sometimes 70 people there who are coming and getting a nice meal. And they, for example, need a pot of soup. So it could be a habit for someone who wants to contribute to bring a pot of soup to the church of their choosing. And then finally, Food for Our Children is an organization that packs backpacks for children in school, and they can take food home and have food over the weekends and over the holidays. And these organizations are really working, thinking about this, and they need volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Mr. Mayor, we have Jennifer Heller.
Hi, Council.
Good
Mayor, staff.
evening, Ms. Heller.
Yeah, I'm a city resident and I won't even take 3 minutes. I just want to comment on item number, I think it's 15, which is proposing a traffic study, which is extremely interesting. I happen to serve on the Bike Ped Committee. I'm not here representing them in any way, but I know that the contents of that study could be very interesting for some of the things that we try to do regularly. We'll see what the study produces, but I would strongly encourage you guys to approve the study so that we can figure out where to go from there in terms of traffic calming, making Boyer a little bit more pretty to look at, providing safe two-way traffic for pedestrians and bicycles. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heller.
Mr. Mayor, we have Mel Dick.
Good evening, Mr. Dick.
Hello. Thanks for allowing me to speak. My name is Mel Dick. I'm a resident of Sagal, Idaho. My wife and I own real estate and a business in Sandpoint. I'm here to encourage you to vote yes on the proposed ordinance to allow nonprofit organizations such as the Sandpoint Rotary Club to host its Chafe 150 bike ride at City Beach Park and to allow it to serve beer and wine at its after ride party in the park in a controlled environment. I've been involved in the Chafe 150 bike ride since its inception in 2008. I've ridden it multiple times. I've volunteered to support the ride. I've been actively involved in all aspects of marketing, fundraising, supporting, and organizing the ride. I've been an avid bike rider my entire life. I've ridden across the United States several times, and I've ridden in countless one-day and multi-day bike rides over the years. Collectively, I've ridden at least 150,000 miles. In all my years of riding organized rides and in different states around the country, I've never experienced a better ride than the Chafe 150, especially its iconic start and finish and its after ride party at City Beach. My experience is like that of Chafe 150 riders from around the country. Outer area riders continuously tell us that City Beach location is what keeps them coming back year after year and telling all their riding friends that the Chafe 150 is a must-do ride. Over the last several years, many one-day and multi-day road bike rides have been discontinued. COVID, the rise of mountain biking, gravel rides, etc., have all played a role in the demise of these rides. At the same time, the Chafe 150 continues to thrive, and riders continue to come to northern Idaho from around the country to ride. The reason Chafe thrives is the start and finish at City Beach. As a rider, there is no better experience than watching the sun rise over the mountains and the lake before the ride starts, and that feeling of accomplishment, community, and camaraderie once you cross the finish line and share a glass of cold beer or wine with local and out-of-state riders, volunteers, and community members. Without the ride being at City Beach, the ride just becomes another ride that may cease to exist. If the start and finish is moved to a different location or out of Sandpoint, rider numbers will decrease with resulting negative impacts on contributions to the education programs that the ride supports and will reduce business for our downtown hotels, shops, and restaurants. I urge you to vote yes on the proposed change, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Dick.
Mr. Mayor, we have Allison Dunbar.
Hello, councilors and
Good
mayor.
evening, Ms. Dunbar.
My name is Allison. I am not a city resident. I'm a resident of the county at large, but I am here representing the Greater Sandpoint Chamber of Commerce, which does own and operate offices within the city limits. I do want to comment on the open container law. Right now, the proposal only includes June. I understand that that's to benefit Chafe, and we love Chafe. We're a partner with Chafe. But it does feel a little exclusive. Our annual event is Beer Fest, and it's the first weekend in July. We have normally held that event on Trinity's lawn. Obviously, this upcoming year, we don't know if we'll be able to do that if the hotel is under construction, and we have no guarantee we'd be able to do it, any year in the future. It's a year-to-year thing for us. So we would really like July to be included, or at least our weekend to be included in the amendment. It would be really hard for us to move to June because if any of you have taken the Leadership Sandpoint class, good community activism requires that we all respect each other's event weekends, and there's an event every weekend in June. Also, our vendors sort of have this weekend scoped out for us because they do beer fests all summer. We've been doing Beer Fest for 12 years with a gap for COVID, so I think we've done 14 years this event has been going on. If you haven't been, we have a local band. We have local and regional breweries come in. It's a family event. We have to have permits anyway, so we have fencing, we have security. We make about $10,000 net profit for us, which we need. We have to have that money. We also give money to the vendors, the band, security company. We get attendees from Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls. They're drunk, so then they have to go stay at a hotel. So we know that they stay. The State Tourism Board has recognized that this is an event that is beneficial for state tourism. I understand that there's a concern about traffic when permitting downtown in summer months. Please understand that when you're considering the scale of traffic that already exists, we are not adding to it. You are already accounting for our traffic because we've been there for 14 years. So you're already looking at us being there. You're already taking that into account. I think that your council can craft an amendment that will allow you to take more things into account when considering the actual permits. So that will help you do that on that end so that you don't just have to block all permits generally. On the other hand, we do not want to do anything to jeopardize Chafe's opportunity. So if your opinion is either it's June or nothing, please approve June for Chafe. We don't want to throw this off the rails in a way that this gets scrapped entirely. We do not want to harm Chafe's opportunity to get a permit. As an alternative, we would apply to be at Farm and Park. That will lose a lot of foot traffic for us and money, but it's probably doable. In that case, we would ask that when renewing the farmers market lease that you would consider reserving that weekend for us on the farmers market lease so that we can keep this event going. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison.
Mr. Mayor, we have Mariah Williams.
Hello, did you miss me? No, I'm just kidding. My name is Mariah Williams. I'm a resident of Sagal. I'm a CPA here in Sandpoint. Happy 10/15 to those of you who celebrate. That's extension deadline day for 2024 taxes. I am a member of the Chafe 150 Organizing Committee and a member of Sandpoint Rotary. First, I just want to take the time to thank you for reconsidering this issue. And for listening to the input of so many in our community. I especially appreciate those of you who have taken the time to revisit your own positions after hearing about the unique positive impact that Chafe has brought to Sandpoint for nearly 2 decades. It really means a lot to us that you would sit down and think through what this means for us and how we move forward. As you all well know, Mel did a great job plugging it, but I have to plug it again because what sort of spokesperson would I be if I didn't? The Sandpoint Rotary's Chafe 150 is not just a bicycle ride. For nearly 20 years, we've been a source of pride, economic vitality, and more than $1 million in direct support for local education, youth, and literacy. And the day before the last council meeting when we were going to be here, our Rotary Club, due to the success of our 2025 ride, approved an additional $30,000 to the Lake Pend Oreille school districts. Every student graduates a reader program in addition to the base funding they needed for that program, which is amazing. And at that same meeting, we distributed the additional money for the Traverse Park shelter, which you saw, which looks amazing. Love it. We understand the concerns about precedent and the unique nature of City Beach. We also know that alcohol is present at City Beach under unregulated circumstances today. The thoughtful inclusion of clear permitting processes, site plans, and barrier requirements that were added to this amendment raised the standard for any event held at city parks and not just City Beach, keeping everyone safe regardless of venue. I just want to express my and Rotary and the Chafe Committee's support for the proposed ordinance language. We do believe that this is an excellent measured compromise. By restricting permits to single-day events in June in a clearly defined area, this ordinance addresses the concerns we've heard about scope, frequency, and public access to the beach. I do personally believe that a slight relaxation of the parameters would be appropriate with continued targeted narrow language. But I believe the targeted narrow language is the right way to move forward. It allows for community celebration while preserving the park's family-friendly spirit. As we know, the City Beach is a place for families, and our community is stronger for our focus on our youth and families. Your support of this amendment to the ordinance supports those values. We do believe that this language truly minimizes the risk of negative consequences or impact on the beach.
Thank you.
I'll
Ms.
be
Williams.
here if you have questions when it comes time to discuss.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, no one else has signed up.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And council members, we were discussing events in the city. We're up to 77 events a year. It's something I would like to bring forward and will be bringing forward just how we manage these events. They're significant staff time spent organizing, reviewing them, and something that we think can improve and maybe have the council more involved in those events. So that will be coming forward. So that will conclude the general public comment portion of the meeting. Next on the calendar is the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills approval is $993,956.02, reflecting $235,137.80 for regular payables and $758,818.22 for payroll. Council, do you have any questions, or are there any items you wish to remove from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Howard.
I would like to move item number 9 off the consent calendar, please.
All right. Any other items council wish to remove off consent calendar? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dick, second by Howarth. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
No.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Under old business, following our prior discussion, amendments to the city's open container law have been proposed. If council is in favor of any ordinance, it will be presented at a future meeting for adoption of amendments approved this evening. I'll now yield the floor to Director Welker, who will give us a staff presentation on the changes, maybe with Chief Kuhn as well.
Hello again. I'll share my screen for you. Just give me a moment. Okay. Yes, I did misspell introduction in my staff report. Apologies. Okay. So obviously this is the second time we've discussed this here. I wrote the staff report almost a month ago. It was supposed to be a couple weeks ago. This is going to be on your agenda. But let's go into I think we all know the background at this point. The staff was already working on an amendment to this ordinance before we were approached by Rotary Club. So the context here was actually that we have a community room at the James E. Russell Sports Center. The original intent was to amend this code to allow alcohol at the community room at the James E. Russell Sports Center, because we're getting a lot of requests for events in that space. Well, we anticipate getting a lot of requests in the near future for events in that space, especially now that we have a court covering for one of our 4 tennis courts. At the same time, we know that there were requests for consideration of other parks. So the ultimate amendment that we're proposing is to add 3 additional city parks and facilities to the areas at which permitted events will be allowed to serve alcohol under certain constraints. This includes both the buildings in Lakeview Park at 607 and 611 South Ella. That is currently the building used by the Lions Club and the Bonner County Historical Society facility. There's been no explicit request, but nonprofits are often looking for opportunities to host fundraising events. The mayor suggested including the History Museum's facility in this ordinance as well, in this amendment. The James E. Russell Sports Center at Traverse Park, and at, as you can see here, single-day events during the month of June in a distinct area at City Beach. So there was concern on council around, on the beach, people drinking and going in the water. Of course, any alcohol service area has to be confined within a barricaded area. So the amendment being proposed also clarify some language around what it means to serve alcohol. I think the original code had said purchased from a licensed vendor, but of course, some events might want to bring in a vendor and provide alcohol to their attendees. So we clarified this could be purchased, sold, or served, including complimentary service by a vendor operating under a valid city-issued catering permit. The permitting process, for some reason, the previous code required approval from the parks director. That's not really how special events are approved. The parks director doesn't approve special events, so we clarified that language. That would be me. I'm not approving these special events myself. There's obviously an approval process. So we clarified that it's not one individual staff person who approves these requests. It goes through the city's standard event permitting process. So that's the language in the new code. We did clarify there was language in the previous code around not to be served beyond the curbs of a park, but as we know, even at Farm and Park, there's already events that spill over onto the streets. So we clarified that it's not necessarily the curbs on the edge of a park that form the service area boundary, rather the city-approved service area boundary, which may include public rights of way if streets are being closed. So and of course, we added some language around maintaining unobstructed ADA access and so on. And then only the City Beach facility is being proposed for a seasonal limitation in response to some concerns expressed by council previously. So I did in my staff report. I don't need to read it all for you. It's here. You've read it. We, always look at consistency with our comprehensive plan when doing these staff reports. So there are several examples of our comp plan that I think this amendment is in support of. Since it's affecting our parks, we also looked at our parks master plan. There's a couple objectives articulated in the Parks Master Plan that I believe that this amendment supports, and these are the actions that you're being asked to consider tonight. So I will answer any questions, and I know the police chief is able to answer any questions as well, because this is actually not a zoning ordinance. This is a Title III, I believe, which is more of the police powers of the city. So I just took it upon myself to draft the amendment, but I would invite the police chief up if you have any questions for him as well.
Council members, are there any questions for Director Welker or the police chief?
Go ahead, Dan. Sure, I do.
Councilwoman Duquette, you are recognized.
Thank you. A time frame. I remember at one point we talked about a time frame during the day at the city beach, like till 8 o'clock. I don't know where that went. I don't see it on here.
Nope, it did not make it in there.
So is that something council is interested in, putting a time on the evening?
Councilwoman Duquette, I think if that's something you would want to propose, you would articulate that as a motion to amend the ordinance, and then there could be discussion.
Okay, I'll throw out my other things then. A temporary, like a year or some trial basis to see what it's become or what issues we've had with, I like the single day event thrown in there, so it can't be an overnight. I don't know, just because we're not sure what it's going to be like.
I would probably just respond by saying you can always change it again next year. I mean, it's a pretty simple process to amend this ordinance. So if it's not working, council could request an amendment a year from now or 2 years from now.
Okay, I also worry about the landscaping, of course, that what sort of, I don't know, what sort of thing do we have to protect the grass and the trees and the bushes when they're erecting things? I always worry about the green space.
Our parks crews do a pretty good job of maintaining our sports fields that get really intensive use from, cleats and tournaments, lacrosse and soccer and football. So I think the grass is going to be okay following a one-day social event. There will be cycling cleats on the turf, but I don't think it'll impact as much as sports cleats. So
Okay,
I think our parks crews do a pretty good job of restoring this after any event taking place.
and again, you're saying one day for one activity. We cannot limit like that.
Correct. Yeah.
So I would like some sort of, maybe in the contract, that they're responsible somehow.
Can I add to that?
Yes,
I snuck
please.
up and sat down, so I didn't want to steal his thunder. I'm going to hide in the corner. I think the mayor brought up a fantastic point earlier today. And one of those points he brought up was we're going to have a special meeting. I'm going to look at Melissa, probably said it wrong, where we can sit down and talk about how we're permitting events. I think everything that you're discussing right now on those tag-ons, I don't think we need to solve it within the city code. I think what we solve that through is the permitting process. And with events that happen in our parks, we can articulate those concerns or those measures that you want. So I would wait
Okay,
and keep that in the back of our mind for that discussion in the first of the year.
okay, is that for the time also? The time?
Well,
frame?
in the permitting process, presumably we could develop justification that's not going to put us in legal jeopardy for the frequency of events. If there was a very intensive event that hurt the grass or the trees, we could potentially find a way to give time for them to recover before the next event. It ties into a larger question of these events, and there's a lot of challenges that we're having with events right now. For example, if an event is permitted and they break all the rules in their contract, we don't have any language right now that would prohibit or give us the ability to prohibit or restrict their application next year. So it's something we need to work with legal counsel to tighten up and improve.
Okay, because that would be my other concern. Are there contracts?
There are.
And
Of these?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Duquette, just to point out, this is the open container law that we're amending.
understand
Things
that.
like time, that's the
Okay.
time of operation, those are going to be articulated in the special event permit.
I do appreciate Chief. I do appreciate all they do. I understand. I've read all the letters. I get it. I'm just concerned about the beach. And I know we can't say one activity, and so now we've got the chamber requesting the Saturday after July 4th. I don't know. I don't know where to go with it. I just wanted to see what anybody else thought. I thought discussion was discussion.
So typically, there's a motion
Motion,
and a
okay.
discussion, so.
Can I
any-
motion that we discuss our,
you can-
our thoughts?
You can certainly make a motion to, you had mentioned a time frame. You can make a motion to put a time frame.
'Cause I thought we heard 8
on the
o'clock.
hours.
Is that
If you get a
feasible?
second, we could then discuss.
Huh? Are you not 8 o'clock? That's what I thought. I thought 8 o'clock was something that was said at one point. Okay, which is more agreeable than say until the park closes, because park doesn't really close. People go in there all the time anyway, unless we put a gate closed. Okay, so
Would you like to offer a motion to amend the draft ordinance to have a sunset or a closure time at 8 PM? Councilwoman Duquette?
yes, I would like to propose an amendment that we have an 8 o'clock shutdown for activities.
Related to this just at the beach or at all these
Good
sites?
question.
Yeah, because we need that clarity.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I would like to hear whatever the rest of the council.
Why don't you start your motion with just at the beach and then we can have some discussion.
Just seconded, I think.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Duquette to propose amendment to the ordinance for an 8 PM cutoff for events at the city beach. Seconded by Councilman Dick. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead,
All
Councilman
right,
Dick.
thank you, Pam. You brought up a lot of great stuff. I do think the 8 PM timeframe specific to City Beach would be good. I think when you're looking at the James Russell Center, and you're looking at a black tie gala, you're probably going to go until 11:30 or midnight on that. So I would be open to that. To your discussion on protecting the grass and the trees, like you know, it was held at Trinity from 2009 up until last year on that grassy area. Two different, you've got a 40 by 40 tent, you've got mini tables, 300 chairs. As long as the grass is being watered, it will come back. Everything looks fine. It gets matted down for a day or two. There is going to be some setup specific the night before on Shea for rider registration. I don't know if we had that discussion as well. as well as the rental companies are going to come and have to set up any of the tents, deliver any of their chairs and tables that are going to be down there. So I don't know if that's also part of the permitting process.
So that's all we could cover. We could cover that in the permitting process. I think really today would be the stopping the sales of alcohol or the distributing of alcohol. So the 8 o'clock would be reference to that.
Okay.
And then the event process, we could get back into the other timeframes.
I'm just going to make a few other comments here. And we can bump these ideas around. I like the way it's written. I would like to move forward personally. I know Chafe has got a lot of logistics. They need to go out and get donors. I would be willing to approve this as is this evening, but with some direction back to city staff. A caveat that I'd like to make, though, is I think we're all hoping that Chafe gets to go and work with the hotel in some regard after this, and that this would be a temporary solution while the hotel is in construction. Just with my experience down there, at some point in time, it may no longer conform with what the hotel wants to do or what Chafe wants to do. They might outgrow the hotel area. So I do appreciate having this discussion. A few things that I'd like to say. And where I was originally going with this a month or two ago when we were talking, despite how busy the beach is in July and August and some of the frustration we've heard from parking, City Beach after Labor Day is the most underutilized piece of property that we have year round, basically from after Labor Day up until about June 30th. Even June 30th is still relatively slow until we get into 4th of July. One of my suggestions would be to have one event per month after Labor Day, starting in September, all the way to June. Chief Kuhn and I have had some great conversations about this. How do we limit the bad actors? I think you open it up only to Sandpoint nonprofits as well. I think those colder months, it's going to be challenging to do things down there, but it might open us up for like a polar plunge or some snowshoe volleyball down there as well. The other thing I'd like to see is beer and wine only for alcohol service and consumption. I think if you're going out and you're getting a vendor, that opens it up to the majority of the hospitality industry up here instead of just those with liquor licenses. I think if we did get it to a point where we had a lot of nonprofits, we could certainly do a lottery, or we could put together a date, maybe the beginning of the fiscal year where all nonprofits go, they pick their dates. I think Allison said it when she was up here. I think a lot of the Sandpoint nonprofits know and respect when each other's events are, so they plan accordingly. I think that would be great. I do see, Allison and I spoke a couple of days ago here. Part of the unintended consequence of this is that, at least for this construction time with the hotel, and hopefully the chamber can do it or start some sort of partnership when the hotel gets back up and running, is that the Chamber of Sandpoint has done their beer fest here for 12 to 14 years. After talking to the chief and with my experience down at City Beach, I would not want to put anything there, any type of an event in July or August that has alcohol, just with how busy it is right now, trying to enforce that, the man and woman power that needs to be there from the police force. It did sound like Allison was flexible, or the chamber was flexible, to move their event to Farman Park. That's also a busy weekend. That's going to be the first or second week of July. And we'd have to explore some options on the contract with the farmers market as well. There is a potential that the chamber could move the beer fest to a Sunday. It gets a little more challenging with your beer vendors. It's hard enough to get them to come in and do a beer fest in July on Saturday, let alone to do it on a Sunday. But I think with some good communication with the farmers market, we might be able to make that work and potentially have them on the Sunday instead of Saturday. I think I think that's about it. So just to recap real quick, I'd like to open it up from September after Labor Day all the way to June. One single event with alcohol per month, limited to Sandpoint nonprofits only, beer and wine only for consumption. And we work on, last caveat here, I'd be willing to approve this tonight and direct the staff with Jason and Corey to potentially take a look at some of the stuff that I've brought up and see if they could bring it back, but we approve it tonight so Chafe can get their things going and see where this goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dick. My only comment to be, it's pretty easy to, relatively easy to amend it. We don't want to hold Chief up for amendments, so, but any other, go ahead, Chief.
I was just going to clarify for the Chafe event, is it the intent for just beer and wine? Or is it for all liquor?
Beer and wine, yeah, for all of the events.
Any other council discussion on the 8 p.m. amendment?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Howarth.
Pam, I do like the idea of a set time at City Beach. My only question is, I don't believe it should be in this code. I think this is the open container law. I do agree with the staff input that it's probably more appropriate in a permitting process that we put those limits in there. But I fully agree with a limited time there. I do also want to say to the public, thank you for all of the letters. While I don't always write back and provide feedback, I do read every letter. And I think, just sitting here, I think that's democracy at its best. You guys are giving us your thoughts, your inputs, and your ideas. And for me specifically, I don't know about the other counselors, it did shape my final opinion. I sit up here and I think about the parks as an environment for family-friendly activities, and I don't associate a beer fest or a post-bicycle drunk as family-friendly. So those two are polar opposites in my mind, but through your conversations, through your letters, I also appreciated the growing knowledge and understanding of the meaningful impact that these events can have on the city. And so I say all of that to simply say that, yeah, I've moved from a position of no to one that says, yes, let's compromise. Let's figure out a way to go make a limited number of events happen with the right controls and the right restrictions for the benefit of the community and the benefit of the city. So again, thank you to the public for all of your thoughts, all of your inputs. Yeah, with that, those are my thoughts.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
So I have a few short comments. I would agree with Councilor Howarth about the timeframes. I think they're much more appropriate for the permitting process. And I would also definitely be on board for this to just be beer and wine. I think that is a little bit more controllable than everything that's available. Then the third piece, I would say that I would like a little more time to process the once a month for the rest of the year, but I would be much rather be willing to move forward with this right now. And then we could come back, in a month or two and work on those other pieces. And then Jason, can you pull up your screen again really quickly? I have just a comment.
I did just start adding some notes to my own copy of this, so,
I'm interested in your picture
okay.
because I'm a visual human. I think the way that this is written, I know that it's probably just an example, but people get really attached to visuals. And I think you're aware of that as being our, head of planning and such. And so my concern is the point of that over towards the volleyball courts is a little bit infringing. And I was hoping we could maybe drag that line back a little bit more and just draw that a little bit differently so that we make sure if it happens to be a beautiful sunny day that those people aren't shooting their volleyballs into the fenced off drinking area accidentally and such. So that would be really my only comment about that. And I know it's just an example of the acre,
Yeah.
but people get attached to pictures.
Yeah.
So.
I can say that, having seen a kind of a draft site plan for the Chafe event, this is about 3 times the area that they're actually requesting. But to me, a 1.00 looked a lot better than 0.623 or whatever. So just keeping it simple. This would be like the absolute max outer boundary. I don't think any particular event was asking for this much space.
Okay.
And I did have a clarifying question, Justin and counselors. Beer and wine only at all city parks or just a city beach park? I do know a lot of these charity fundraising events do like to have the bar with more than beer and
I
wine.
was going for City Beach.
Just for city
Yeah.
beach. Okay. Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Schreiber?
Yeah, just really quick to run through all the suggestions that have already been made. Great suggestions, by the way, everyone. The 8 p.m. rule sounds reasonable to me, but I do think that maybe we look at it in the permit process because, maybe even events that aren't ending or aren't serving alcohol should have an end date as well, or an end time as well. In terms of making this reevaluating this in a year, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if we need to put a end time in the code of the language to do that. I think we can just plan on talking about this in a year. I like that idea. I see this as sort of a trial run, and if everything goes good, then let's keep it, and if not, let's make some adjustments. I absolutely thought the same thing as Councilor Dick. Why limit it to just June when it's even quieter all winter? And I think if anyone wants to have an event in the winter, more power to them. I don't see any reason why we couldn't have events in those slow months. The nonprofit only, if we were going to go that route, I would ask that we include Bonner County nonprofits, not just City of Sandpoint nonprofits, simply because it's my understanding that there's a new center for nonprofits out in Ponderay, and I wouldn't want to inadvertently exclude anyone who chose to have their office space there. Beer and wine only at City Beach, I'm open with. I did have one question for Jason, I believe. Our previous conversation on this, I believe we were talking about public events only, right? Or is this?
So, yeah, well, that's implied because the definition of a special event in our code is an event that's open to the public. So a wedding reception would not be permitted under this ordinance.
Okay, perfect.
That's not a special event.
That's exactly what I was looking to get. So I didn't see that specifically said in the ordinance.
I will say this has come up just in the last year because we've had requests for private wedding parties that wanted to have champagne at City Beach and at Memorial Field. And it's not permitted because while field use is permitted, you can rent the field for a private event. You can't serve alcohol unless you're a special event, which is a public an event. It's defined as something like an event generally meant to attract the public.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, council members. Anything else, Councilman Trevor?
No, I think that covered it.
So the amendment was from Councilwoman Duquette, seconded by Dick, to have an 8 p.m. cutoff on alcohol sales. This will be
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question here. How would it work? Is this work in the permit process or in the ordinance? It's a one-day event. Many years we've had to have the rental set up on a Thursday for a Saturday, or if it's on a Friday for Saturday, they could be there at noon. Again, we're talking about a pretty relatively slow month in June. Is that going to be a problem if they're set up a day or two? The tents are there, it's fenced off from the public for 24 hours or so?
Go ahead, Chief.
I was just going to say, just to clarify, this is strictly for the alcohol service, one-day event for the alcohol, and we've had that conversation. The event permitting can
That'll
request
take care of
more
that.
than the one day. Strictly the alcohol service will only be 1 day.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, I don't believe this needs to be a roll call vote. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right, sorry.
Nay.
Nay.
We had,
Is this for the 8 PM?
this is the
Sorry.
8 PM
Sorry, nay.
amendment. So let's try that again. All those in favor?
For what?
8 PM cutoff as amended,
For City Beach, for the one time.
per the motion you made.
alcohol.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I say yay.
All those opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Okay, so
All
what
right,
am I missing?
so we are back to the original
Oh,
draft
okay.
that's before you, and the takeaway on that is I hear council implied consent that these permits all end in an email in my box that says, Mayor, do you approve this event? And what I'm hearing is you would like me to limit those to 8 PM, and I will do so. Alcohol service.
That's what I was agreeing to. Why is everybody else saying no?
Because it's
And I
not
got
supposed
it. I will.
better not in the ordinance.
Switch.
Better not in the ordinance.
Got
Better
that.
to do it in the
Okay.
permitting.
See?
All right. As discussed, I entertain a motion to approve the proposed amendment of the ordinance, the original amendment, which would allow the alcohol service on 1 acre in the month of June, as proposed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Shriver, second by Rule.
Is there a
Roll.
minute of discussion on this before?
Yes, there can be discussion.
The 1 acre. Did Jape request 1 acre? You said less. Do we have to give that big of a spot?
Councilwoman Duquette, we do not have to. That would be the maximum extent where alcohol could be served. I believe we heard Director Welker
Okay.
say that the chafe request in the past has
Less,
been
yeah,
much.
6.6 or something smaller. So I just didn't want it in there that's
That's in it. That's the limits of if
that it can be that big.
XYZ group wants to come in the day before and have, or 2 days before and have a acre wide, they can put in a permit for that. I think staff would probably look at the conflict with the volleyball and maybe reduce that. It's our discretion of the area. We just need to be able to defend
So
what
that would be
we,
more in the permitting again.
correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
So just a point of information here, this figure 1 is going to be included in our city code.
Correct.
I concur with Council President here that it does appear to be a little close to the volleyball courts there. Can we just instruct staff to adjust that acre so that it's not so close?
Yeah, I don't think that would, as long as there's implied consent, I don't think we need to. It's not a word in the ordinance, so I think as long as you can be clear that there's implied consent to reduce that area slightly to not conflict, that would work.
Correct, but that's okay. We just need to bring it up so they can see.
Just pointing out that there's not actually an ordinance tonight. This is just a draft amendment. So if there are specific changes you want to direct me to make before this comes before you as an ordinance in 2 weeks, this is the time to articulate those in your motion. So if you want to amend the motion that's on the table to shrink the area and to add, for example, Councilman Dick's suggestion, this would be your time to do that. And then we'll come back in 2 weeks with the actual ordinance that has your directed amendments included. So this is, you don't have to approve it as brought to you tonight because there's not actually an ordinance tonight. This is a draft amendment.
Thank you, Director Welker.
And I think, did you want me to share the screen again?
Please.
And I'm
I'll
not
put it
sure
up
we,
again.
we need amendment if there's general consensus or implied consent to shrink the area, just to save the words.
Yes, it's fine, yes.
Thank
So
you.
one thing I would appreciate direction on is Councilman Dick's suggestion, so that when we do bring an actual ordinance to you in 2 weeks, does council want it to include the language, something like this in red? I took note of Councilman Schreiber's suggestion in opening up to all Bonner County nonprofits, not just City of Sandpoint nonprofits. So this is what I have in my notes. I could amend this further to include this in the ordinance that comes before you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Director Welker.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council President.
then I would request, can you redraw the little?
Yeah, of course, it would definitely be
Perfect.
redrawn.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another,
yep, great.
we'll
Would the
add that now.
recommendation, if I could just,
Also-
just to say no larger than an acre and just leave the drawing out?
Sure.
That'd be great. That
I mean,
gives
I
us a
think
lot of flexibility.
the intent is that we don't want someone to request the entire, so talking with
Right.
Jason, the acre was just kind of a happy compromise.
Well, there was also some confusion about
About
whether the
where.
grassy area being requested was this grassy area or the grassy area to the right. So I think the map was intended to make it very clear.
Yes.
We're not allowing service of alcohol on the sand adjacent grassy area, only in the interior grassy area. So I could just shrink this map by a fifth of an acre or something and give a nice wide path between the
Do
volleyball
that.
courts and the service area.
Do that.
Okay, council members, we have a, motion and a second. I think Director Welker has brought up a good point. If there was a desire to expand this, since it's coming back in a couple weeks, for those other months, I would ask for a motion and a second to expand it as described those other months, if you want to pursue that path. Otherwise, it'll go forward as is.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make that amendment to what Jason is.
So Councilman Dick has put forward a motion to amend the ordinance that'll be coming back that will include language that will allow one event per month from Labor Day to June for a Bonner County nonprofit, and discussing the idea of a lottery if there's a conflict with competing nonprofits.
And beer and wine only.
With beer and wine only.
Specific to City Beach.
There's a motion by Dick, second by Howarth. Discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council
I
President.
have a question for Ms. Jovic. Is there any legal conflict with making it just for nonprofits?
I'll look into that so that it'll come back to you legally compliant.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, now I forgot what I was.
Any other discussion?
So all the events can have alcohol. You're talking the polar plunge. You're not going to be drinking and polar plunging. I mean, isn't that what?
Their families might, while they're waiting for them to get out of the water.
Right, but I think that's one of the big issues we were having was we didn't want people drinking by the water. I'm just saying, if we blanket say that.
Yeah, but isn't that part of the permit process, though? I mean, don't we ultimately have the decision over that if a nonprofit comes
Okay,
in and
back to the
says,
permitting.
we want to get
Okay.
drunk and jump in the water when it's, freezing cold?
Yeah, so what this really comes down to is permitting alcohol to be consumed within that designated area. at the
Okay, that
beach.
green space is going to be
So if they're not,
shrinking.
they can't,
Okay,
they won't be
thank
able to
you.
consume
Thank you.
next to the water. However, that wouldn't prevent somebody from leaving the venue,
Right.
going and jumping in the water.
Okay.
But this is really about that acre space
Okay.
in the grassy area to consume alcohol.
Try not to belabor.
Might I add one more thing to that event? One
Councilman Dick,
event
go ahead.
at City Beach per month
That's
with
from
beer and
Labor
wine.
Day to
Yep,
June.
just one.
Yep.
For non.
All right, there's been a motion by Dick, second by Howarth to expand and include one per month, one event per month, Labor Day to June. Bonner County nonprofits if legally allowed with a lottery system. Let's go with a vote. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so now we have an amended motion here, which to summarize is what's been proposed with the shrinking of the area and to expand it to allow one event per month from Labor Day to June. This will be a roll call vote if there's no further discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council.
just a point of clarification for the record. So we talked a lot about City Beach. This is just, I want to ensure that for the record, this is all of the amendments that have been proposed,
Correct.
including at Lakeview Park, et cetera.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And the specifics of the Labor Day through June, just to City Beach.
Can I make a clarification?
Go ahead, Council President. Councilwoman. Duquette.
I thought that Jason was saying the Russell building for like functions, is that different than he
Yeah,
wanted?
There was a question about if it was just restricted to beer and wine, and
Right.
beer and wine, my
That's just
understanding
at
was
the
just
beach.
restricted to the beach.
Okay, just at the beach.
But Mr. Mayor, that's a good point though, because you could still rent out James Russell for a wedding, right? Correct? Okay, so, sorry. nonprofits specific to the City Beach
That's
area.
the way I
Okay, so we got
understand
it. Okay.
The Russell Building is separate.
Russell Building is separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we talking about that?
12 months a year. It's, as
As many
what's
times.
on the table is that would allow
City
beer and
Beach.
wine.
Okay. All right.
We clear? Anyone have any questions?
We'll
All
get
right.
to see the file.
This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, first under new business, go ahead, Council
If I may
President.
request a 5-minute break
Sure, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
or less.
6:51, whenever you're. Meeting is reconvened at 6:56 PM. First, under new business, council will consider approval of the 2026 employee benefits agreement and insurance policies. And I will now yield the floor to Director Hughes. Council members, you'll hear a lot here when we talk about the health insurance. I just want to start by saying we are on a somewhat unsustainable path. What you'll hear about tonight is a proposal that will bring health insurance forward under a new provider, Blue Cross. That's the recommendation from my office. That would guarantee us 2 years at a no greater than 12% increase. You may recall last year we had over a 20% increase on our health insurance to the tune of over $200,000. This year, Regent started off at somewhere around 27% increase. Thanks to the good work of Cheryl and Sarah and some frank words from me, we were able to get that down somewhere, I believe somewhere between 17 and 20%. We asked Blue Cross to give us a comparable, and they were able to do much better with that guaranteed 2-year lock-in at 12%. But I bring this all up because this is the most unsustainable thing that we do as a city, and we need to find a solution. If you agree with the proposal tonight, we will be with Blue Cross for 2 years. But what I would like is I've become aware of alternative healthcare models, including a hybrid direct primary care, and I need to learn a lot about it. The potential savings could be significant for both our employees and the city. And I would like, if 2 of you have any interest in exploring this over the next 2 years, I want to really learn how this works and what options there are, because we can't continue on this path where our health insurance cost for benefits exceeds or meets our annual revenue from new taxes. It's a one-way spiral of doom. So if you do have an interest in exploring that, please let me know. It's going to be very interesting to understand what's out there. With that, Director Hughes, please present.
Good afternoon, councilors and mayor. We are bringing forward the 2026 employee benefits for your consideration. And I'm going to give you a little bit, highlight each of the benefits, and then Autumn Porter with Taylor Insurance will also be providing a presentation that focuses on the medical piece. So I'm going to start with the Delta Dental, which is our dental insurance. There is no change in plan for our insurance for 2026. There is a slight increase to the monthly amounts that the employee will see for their dependents only. The city covers the $45 employee cost, and the employee covers 100% of the dependent coverage. So it's a slight increase for all except for the family. The family remains the same. Just to give you a quick rundown on the medical, Taylor Insurance solicited rates. As we spoke about last year, that our intent was to look for other rates and see if there were other options available to us. And we were looking for comparable plan designs. We got Blue Cross, obviously, gave us a competitive rate, which was evaluated. Pacific Source also was competitive and was evaluated. United Healthcare declined to participate because they could not be competitive. Mountain Health Co-op also declined because they were not able to be competitive. We did not obtain rates from IIIA due to requiring a full medical history application from every employee, and the time constraints to accomplish this was just not attainable. As the mayor was saying, the city received renewal rates from Regents. Initial renewal rate was 29.92%. And after further conversations and Autumn working with Regents as well, we had meetings with Regents. Ultimately, they reduced it down to 17.9%. This will be shared further in the presentation. That does include not having our share plan, which is that cost sharing plan that we had. We've had 2 years of really high utilization rates, which is what's driving the increases. One of the utilization rates that are really increasing is in prescriptions. So you'll see that the plans being presented, we had to also increase the deductibles as well as the max out of pockets slightly. But that was necessary to bring this to some kind of manageable for the employee and for the city budget. So after comparing the rates amongst the 3 different plans, we are proposing that we switch over to Blue Cross. It is a robust plan. It has there's a large number of preferred providers here in Sandpoint. It's very similar to our Blue Shield plan. So I don't really believe that there will be any noticeable difference to the insurance. In fact, there are some benefits to Blue Cross. If you have children under the age of 18, those office visits are at no charge. There is something called Choice Stock, which Autumn will go into probably a little bit more. And those are $10 copays for those office visits. And rather than the $30, if they're not a Choice Stock, it's your just typical $30 copay that we're used to paying anyway. There are a lot of providers on that Choice Stocks, including those at Conixu, those at Sandpoint Family Health. So the provider network, even for the Choice Stocks, is pretty robust. And so then we are also proposing a 6-tier prescription plan. Right now, we have a 4-tier with a max copay of $100 if you have a specialty medication. The 6th tier is going to have tiers 5 and 6 is going to be on a percentage basis of 20 or 30% for those specialty medications. So that could impact employees that might be in those specialty medication rates. But because of our utilization for prescriptions, that was really driving our rate increase as well. So we talked about that last year, about considering a 6-tier prescription plan, and this year it is being proposed. So just moving forward, we are not, let me just get down a little bit more. The staff report goes into the deductible changes. Basically, the traditional classic plan is moving from a $1,500 deductible to a $2,000 deductible with an $8,000 max out of pocket, which is a $850 increase to the maximum out of pocket in a year. On the buy-up plan, it is moving from a $500 deductible to a $1,000 deductible. The maximum out of pocket is $5,500, and that is the maximum allowed in a Blue Cross plan for the buy-up plan. The HSA plan, we are proposing the $4,000 deductible with a $5,500 maximum out of pocket, and the city contribution of the $1,800 per year in the health savings account. And again, the mayor mentioned Blue Cross is providing a 12% maximum rate lock. So it could potentially be lower based on actual utilization, and maybe we've just had a couple of high utilization years, and maybe it'll start leveling off. But we are rate locked in at 12%, which is beneficial. Vision would be managed through Blue Cross, but VSP, which is who we have currently, is the provider network. So there's really no change in that. However, moving to Blue Cross, we're going to actually have enhanced benefits. There is a slight increase in the employee, and if this is 100% paid by employee. And there is a slight decrease in employee and spouse and employee and child. And the frames, there's an enhanced benefit, and it's more in frames. Autumn can probably provide a little more information on those plan details. Some of these details are being worked out, but the vision for the low increase that the employees might see, they're getting more for that. The life insurance is not changing for 2026 as far as the rates. Long-term disability, the city has evaluated this benefit, and the staff, we are proposing that we make this a voluntary benefit and not a city-paid benefit, because it has been minimally used since inception. I only know of it used temporarily or for a short period of time once. And this will yield almost $27,000 of savings to the city. And the caveat to that is that we will have to have a minimum for 15% employee participation in order for employees to be able to opt into this voluntary long-term disability plan. And the rates will be provided within the booklet as we get closer to open enrollment, which is set to be on November 6th this year. BPA, there's no change to the BPA, and it is still 100% paid by the city. So with that, before Autumn comes up and does her presentation, is there any questions council has at this point?
Council members?
Okay, so that is my portion of this presentation. Now it's Autumn's turn. Let me share my screen.
Autumn, and I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you put into this to find us these rates. It's not your problem, it's the nation's problem.
It is, in fact. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I also want to do kudos to Cheryl and Sarah because they've spent a lot of time dissecting the plans. Cheryl's done a wonderful job really recapping the process that we've gone through. We did a lot of due diligence this year, explored countless scenarios of how we can mitigate the increase, but protect the members that are enrolled so that we're not just cost shifting as best as we can. As the mayor indicated, this is really kind of a national crisis. Obviously, right now we have a federal shutdown. One of the main reasons is due to the Affordable Care Act and the enhancement of advanced premium tax credits. So not only are groups like yourselves, but also our individuals are in a precarious situation on affordability. To touch a little bit on why these costs are skyrocketing so much, and I think it's pretty common sense, to be quite frank. The cost of healthcare in general continues to escalate as we have new technology, diagnostic testing, those come at a premium charge. As Cheryl alluded to, pharmaceutical drugs are driving costs. Not only is that across the board, but it's also seen very specifically here at the city. You have a couple of utilizers of biologic prescriptions. Each fill of the prescriptions averaged $22,000 for a 30-day supply. And you have 2 members on that prescription. We also have the GLP-1s. There's several members that are using GLP-1s. A monthly fill is $938 on average. We also have an aging workforce, and with aging workforces, we also have more chronic conditions that require treatment and solutions for. I know that Cheryl, she's in charge of my slideshow here. We kind of talked about that. We also have carrier costs. Their administrative costs are continuing to rise, whether that is due to compliance issues, customer service, fraud prevention. It's all coupling together, and it is being shifted down to not only small groups, but everyone. We're also still seeing the impacts of COVID-19, whether that is individuals that have delayed treatment and now have a more serious condition that we're treating, or individuals who are suffering from long COVID. In regards to how these are rising, there's not a lot that can be specifically done by each and every person besides going in, making sure they're getting their yearly wellness done, making sure they're getting treatment early. What I will point out on these high prescription utilizations is that, especially our extremely high biologic drug, these are conditions that are very manageable. If you would not know that these prescriptions are being utilized. It's not like they are sick. It is just improving their daily lives, which is really what insurance is. But again, I understand the issues that we're facing on budgets. To look over the last couple of years of loss ratio with Regents Blue Shield, in 2023, we were at 82.8. Last year, we ended very poorly at 107.4% loss ratio. Overall, even though we took a decent increase for the 2024 plan, Regents in essence lost approximately $500,000, meaning their expenses and paid claims exceeded our paid premiums by about $500,000. Currently, a loss ratio at 83.8%. That's true paid premiums versus paid claims. It does not include our additional costs such as administration and our specifics. So currently on our last report, Regents is down about $100,000 based on our paid claims. Down below that, you're going to just see some basic member utilization I was able to obtain from Regents. So you can see the number of members that are meeting deductibles each year and the number of members that are reaching an out-of-pocket maximum. So the interesting thing about the city is that we have a lot of utilization, but we have a lot of people using, but not just one person having high claims. Because we do have something within our contract called a specific, where if a member reaches $125,000 or more, then their experience does not impact us directly. Okay, so it's kind of like a safety net. So a lot of claims by a lot of members gets us to these utilization numbers. When we look at the rate history in comparison to the utilization, each and every year it has been warranted. Even last year when we had to succumb to that huge increase of 24.8, even still today, we are running at a loss to Regents. That's in our favor because we are a fully insured contract. So even when they pay more claims than we've paid in premiums, there's no liability back to the insurance company. I don't want to be redundant to what Cheryl said, but on the next slide, it does give us what we went through with negotiations with Regents Blue Shield. We've been with Regents for almost 4 decades. They do really appreciate and value the partnership we've had. But this year, unfortunately, they are not probably going to be able to meet the budget requirements of the city. But I do share with you that they will be sad for the change and hope that in the future they would be able to perhaps earn your business back. When we, again, Cheryl, I don't want to be cumbersome to this. We did go out to quote. We did have some declines to quote and then some options to consider. I do want to address Mayor Grimm in his request for self-funded proposals. All carriers besides Regents Blue Shield refuse to offer a self-funded quote. Regents Blue Shield would not provide a final self-funded quote until after experience was received for the run out of October, but preliminary numbers, in their opinion, would exceed our fully insured rates based on their predictions of claims to be received in 2026. I would like to state too, as Mayor Grimm is inviting you to learn about the hybrid models, which I am aware of, I'd be happy to join into that discussion and explore different options for the city. There's some pros and cons to that, and also finding an appropriate administrator of that self-funded program. When we turn to one more slide here, there's a lot of information on this slide, so I apologize. It was important to us that we could see a side-by-side comparison of what's the current rates are, current benefits, moving to the revised renewal offering of Regions Blue Shield, and then also what Blue Cross of Idaho is offering. So again, Cheryl has indicated we have made a move for what we would consider the provided per se plan, or the standard plan that the city provides, moving that deductible up by $500. It's going to be a 70-30 contract with Regions there. I don't really want to belabor this chart because there's a lot. If you want me to go line by line, I certainly will do so. But I want to be able to be sensitive to your needs and what your guys' needs are this evening. Overall, moving from the current Regents plan over to the Blue Cross of Idaho 3 options, it's roughly about 8.8% overall average between all tiers. It will be less and more between the tiers, depend upon how many family members are enrolled. Do you guys have questions on this or want me to go through anything specific on this?
May I ask a question? Just a generic question. I presume that when Blue Cross gave us their proposal, you had to provide the utilization data and information.
We did.
For the probably a couple of years.
We did. It was either 24 or 36 months. I don't recall exactly how much I provided. It's always a requirement of 24 months. I will note, interestingly enough, Blue Cross is the only carrier that did not require me to provide renewal rate from Regions Blue Shield. So I can appreciate that, because I feel like they did their own homework and, you know, came with their own rates to the table and not off of what Regions was offering.
So if both companies are seeing the exact same utilization data, help me understand, how can one come in lower than the other?
So they have the utilization, but the utilization that the city receives is very, very high level.
Okay.
Meaning all they say is paid premiums, paid claims. They do not know any diagnosis. They do not know any large claim history, whereas Regents has a full history and knows exactly who's taking what prescriptions, that these prescriptions are going to be ongoing. So Regents definitely they have more information to go off of than Blue Cross. So there is a question of, is Blue Cross's premiums to a point underfunded? Potentially it is. We have had those conversations when we've had our meetings. And that is one reason why we're extremely happy that they've given us at least a 12% rate lock for the next year. But that is always going to be of concern when you change carriers. We call it the honeymoon phase. We get a really good premium, that's great, and then the next year it goes up substantially. So it at least softens the blow at 12% for the following year.
Autumn, I just wanted to also add part of, so that they understand too, the difference of Blue Cross is we're going to be in a pool now.
Yeah, and I have that on my next slide, so I'll go over it, but thank you, Cheryl. Anything else?
Autumn, could you just briefly, for those who aren't aware, explain how the HSA element of this works?
So the health savings account plan is, I call it kind of the non-traditional plan. When you have option 1 and option 2, they have immediate upfront benefits, meaning you have office visit copays, you have visits to the physical therapist, you have immediate access to prescription drugs. When you choose the health savings account plan, in essence, you're self-insuring until you meet that deductible. So the only benefits you receive on option 3 before meeting that deductible is you have your yearly preventive exam, and there's some preventive medications that are covered for some chronic conditions such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, asthma. There's some classifications of drugs that are covered right away. But outside of that, if you need surgery, if you think you have bronchitis and you go to the office for a visit and a checkup, that is subject to that deductible and coinsurance. The benefit of that plan is that if you are a healthy individual or family and not a big utilizer, you can put monies aside on a pre-tax basis. That's a tax sheltered palace or a account that's tax deductible because it's coming out pre-taxed. The monies that you put into that account can be utilized for any out-of-pocket medical, dental, or vision expenses for any tax dependent, regardless if they're on the plan or not. The funds in that account do roll over from year to year. So if you have a really good year, that pool of money kind of just travels with you.
And the $4,000 at the top, what does that represent?
That is the deductible value. So if you were to need surgery, you're going to pay the first $4,000 and then it goes to 70/30 to a maximum out of pocket of $5,500. Quite frankly, that's a really great plan for anybody that has something planned coming up. It could also potentially be a really good plan for someone who is on a high cost prescription drug because you're going to meet that $5,500 deduct or out of pocket maximum very soon. And then coverage goes to 100% thereafter.
Good, good.
Okay. These out of pockets, I mean, they do continue to escalate each year. The federal threshold for next year is over $10,000. So, when we look at, privately held plans, those out of pocket maximums are over $10,000 at this point. So you're still at half of that on your options 2 and 3.
And then if, also for the city contribution, the city contributes $1,800 a year to help offset that, $4,000 deductible.
Thank you. I think we need to do a good job making sure our employees understand, because where I sit, that looks like a really, especially someone on a high price drug, that looks like a pretty good option.
I personally have an HSA. My family doesn't use a lot of healthcare. I contribute to the banking portion of my HSA, and I just put my kiddo in braces, so I'm using those funds to offset those. So it's not for everybody, but that's why we offer more than one plan so that we have options. As humans, we like options. We don't like just to be pigeonholed into one type of policy. Again, this is a 6-tier program. I'll touch on it just a little bit, but as Cheryl alluded to, those specialty drugs and the biologic drugs, those are going to be your Skyrizis, Enbrel. A lot of the medications that you see commercials for are biologic drugs and are specialties. So those will fall to tiers 5 and 6. Even though it is a percentage, please keep in mind that it does go to that out-of-pocket maximum. So once they're at that point, they will pay nothing more for that particular calendar year. Anything else before we go to just I just want to be clear on some of the internal changes. Okay, thank you, Cheryl. So we've touched on pharmacy. Preventive care benefits. So a number of years ago, probably at least 15 years ago, at the direction and desire of the city requested to have an enhanced preventive care benefits. What that meant is we didn't have to stay within the box of standard preventive care. If a claim was submitted with a preventive code, it meant that it was going to be covered at 100%. That will not be an option with Blue Cross of Idaho. It will be their standard preventive care. However, I will say it is a very robust preventive care benefit that is covered on a yearly basis. In regards to pediatric benefits, there is nothing special in regards to our current or renewing option with Regents, but Blue Cross of Idaho does offer a $0 copay for kids under the age of 18. I will also mention that that does extend to mental health visits for children as well. Included in that, children can have testing for such things as mono, strep A and B, earwax removal of foreign body from ear, pregnancy tests, influenza A and B, RSV testing, pulse oximetry, all covered at no charge. So it is coupled with a lot of standard tests that kids have, like RSV, at no charge. In regards to standard office visits for non-pediatric members, we've had a standard $30 copay. In regards to Blue Cross, they use a Choice Doc program. The designation on Choice Doc is set up by Blue Cross of Idaho based on cost efficiency, whether that's getting people kind of patched up and out the door in one visit versus multiple. And so those Choice Doc providers are not only here in our area, but extend down to Kootenai County and all through the state of Idaho. I will make mention that Choice Docs is Idaho specific. So if you do have a practitioner in Spokane, there is not an option that they would be considered a Choice Doc And so you would pay that regular standard office copay. In regards to outpatient rehabilitation, standard plans right now, deductible and co-insurance. With Blue Cross of Idaho, it's very nice. It's a $60 copay on options 1 or 2. Oftentimes when someone has some type of condition, maybe they're needing to have an MRI, but it's suggested that they try physical therapy first. Sometimes having to meet a deductible is cost prohibitive. So this allows your members to get access to care at a more reasonable copay amount. The current plan does offer complementary care, which is inclusive of acupuncture benefits. That is not a benefit that is included with the Blue Cross of Idaho option. Telemedicine's like doctor on demand. So not if you do a telehealth visit with your doctor, but if you used doctor on demand or an outside vendor, which we have now, that is not included with Blue Cross. It is offered as a buy-up option. We did not feel that was being highly utilized, so I don't think that will be missed. In regards to the contract type that we have, so currently we have the fully insured with the share plan, which allows for a potential refund. As we know, we haven't gotten one since 2022. The renewal offer was fully insured, no share plan, experience rated. Blue Cross of Idaho, because we're not over 100 enrolled members, or excuse me, employees, they are putting us within the mid-sized pool. What that means to the city is that you will be rated in 2 fashions. You'll be rated at renewal based on how the mid-sized pool is doing with Blue Cross of Idaho, as well as how your experience is running. So in times where maybe the city is running a little bit hot, meaning a lot of higher utilization, if the pool's running well, then that will help kind of keep the large increases at bay. Conversely, if the pool's doing really poorly and we're doing really poorly, we're going to see a higher than average increase. I didn't mention at the very beginning, but keep in mind we do have something known as, medical inflation, right? The cost of care is increasing. That's running at a tune of 6 to 8%, which is extremely high. Touching quickly on reporting. So we've always received quarterly reporting since we've been on the share plan. So again, it's high level, paid premiums versus paid claims. We would not have received that if we renewed with Regents, and with Blue Cross of Idaho, we can request reporting, but it is very limited to the point where it's not going to give us total paid claims, or we know our own paid premiums, but it will give us high level, like how many large claims are on the books, but we'll have no diagnoses. It will also give us some reporting on where people are seeking services, if they're seeking services here locally or outside of the state. And then looking a little bit further on, we have that integration with Health Equity for our health savings account right now. So Regents Blue Shield of Idaho offers full integration with Health Equity. And what that means is that when an employee is enrolled with the Regents and they've chosen the HSA, a file feed is sent to Health Equity and their account is automatically set up with a debit card checking account for their HSA. They also have the choice at the time of enrollment that they can request for all of their claims from Regents to be sent to Health Equity. So if we have a really good utilizer of their web and the portal, they can log into Health Equity and just say pay claims now. It comes directly out of their account. In comparison, Blue Cross of Idaho does not have full integration. So what that means is when Kyle onboards somebody new, not only will he do an enrollment with Regents, he'll also come over to Health Equity and enroll them at that time. It is a reduction in costs from $275 to $225 for not having that full integration capability. Okay, we talked about the rate cap of 12%. Any questions in regards to this?
Council? Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. If there's any discussion on the dental, the vision, the life, I'm happy to field those. But if you're pretty satisfied with what those are coming in at, then I would thank you for your time.
Any questions? Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Yes. Where'd you like to take us from here, Cheryl?
So with that, does council have any questions at all about the 2026 renewals. So
Any questions, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Cheryl, on the long-term disability,
Yes.
being voluntary, you said we need 15%?
yes,
Is that what you said?
1.5.
Do we typically have 15% that takes advantage of that or uses that?
Well, it's
I
included
guess
automatically.
You're right, it's automatically, but in terms of the actual usage of it,
So the usage of it it's really has not been utilized. However, I think employees might, it's hard to say what employees will do with this if they want this benefit voluntarily, just like our short-term disability is through AFLAC. They very well might want that security of a long-term disability. And the rates might be low enough that they find benefit in that. And as long as we get 15% of employees to sign up for it, then it's available. If we do not get that 15% number, then it will no longer be available.
And
the
Cheryl,
VA would not be
AFLAC
providing
would
it.
still be available regardless.
AFLAC is still going to be offered. It's 100% employee paid as well.
that was my next question. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't put that or Life Flight on here. Life Flight, we did not get our rates back yet. So I have no idea if the rates are going to stay the same or not. We'll have them in time for open enrollment, but we didn't have them in time for this meeting. They usually don't come out until November with that renewal rate. Again, that's 100% employee paid.
And Councilman Dick, I looked at some other cities in the region. Some don't offer any employee child payment. Right now, we pay what percentage of the children?
The city contributes 67% of dependents.
So we're paying
The medical.
67. I looked at some cities that cover nothing of dependents. So although this is obviously you could see this loss of long-term disability as a reduction. It was the least reduction. I felt that was advisable based on this escalating cost and still offers a very competitive healthcare benefit, health insurance benefit package.
Thank you.
I hope we don't have to go further in the future.
It was another challenging year, just because we understand the employee impact and the challenge with the city budget. So it was challenging for sure.
If there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2026 employee benefit agreement. And
So moved.
Second.
moved by Howard, second by Roll. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Howard?
Yes.
Counselor Dick?
Yes.
Counselor Rule?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, we do have some guests in the audience tonight, and just wondering if anyone would object if we moved on to number 15, which is the council direction sought on North Boyer Avenue corridor design and traffic study. I believe that would allow our guests to get on with their evening. Any objection to that?
No.
No.
Excellent. Let's proceed with next on the agenda, item 15. Council direction is sought on the North Boyer Avenue corridor design and traffic study, and I will now yield the floor to Director Welker.
Thank you, Mayor. Need to reconnect to Zoom here. Just give me a moment. Oh, Holly's joining me too. Public Works Director, Holly Ellis. This is what we call a collab between departments here. Okay, I've got the PowerPoint though, so give me just a moment. All right. Okay, I'm muted. Okay. Council, thank you. Little background why we're talking about this tonight. You'll recall that, well, you may or may not recall, this was about 5 years ago now. There was a large subdivision, the largest subdivision in Sandpoint's history, the University Place subdivision, 75 acres, I believe, total, over 340 housing units in the original, or lots plotted, housing units envisioned in the original subdivision. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. We've seen the build out of phase 1, that's the northeast corner, that's nearly complete. Phase 2A, I believe, is the Williams Homes, the base camp, that's nearly completely built out. Now they pulled their final building permits to build out the last of the lots in that central part. You've got a large planned unit development in phase 4 that is kind of on hold right now. And phase 3 is the northwest corner of the University Place subdivision, which the infrastructure is, I think, close to being accepted for that right now. They're becoming to final plat here in the next few weeks. We do have the owner of phase 3, developer of phase 3, and a member of his team here tonight, Cliff Mort and Luke from Monogram Homes. These gentlemen have been really good partners in the last few months as we've seen the infrastructure go in on phase 3. Bill and myself were inspired to reach out to Cliff and his team and see if they were interested in revisiting the original vision for University Place. Cliff was not an original owner in University Place. He took over the development rights of the phase 3 only recently from the original developer of that property. But the infrastructure is pretty much set. There's an internal street that's been paved. You've seen streetlights go up and sidewalks in the last few months. Nonetheless, some of the takeaways from the original subdivision from 5 years ago have stuck with myself, who was involved in that as a planning commissioner, and now with Bill on our team, we've felt really motivated to revisit the alignment, the orientation of the homes in phase 3. So we reached out to Cliff and his team and asked if they would be open to the idea of reorienting homes that in the original subdivision were envisioned to be internal facing with a wall or a fence behind them, separating them, cordoning off them, those homes from the rest of the city and the Boyer corridor, and orienting them towards North Boyer instead. Through conversations with Bill and myself, Cliff and his team said they would be open to that, but there would need to be the city would need to be open to possibly looking at how that corridor functions from a pedestrian, bicycle, vehicle standpoint. So that's what this presentation is about. Holly's here because obviously the public right-of-way is a public works realm. Streets, sidewalks are really the realm of public works, but there's a lot of overlap here. As I said, this is a collaboration. Planning is about the built environment and how the public and the private realms interface with each other. So the planning team, the public works team have worked on this staff report and presentation for you. I'm going to go through some of the work that we've put together for tonight in this presentation. It's very short. We'll open it up for questions. So this is the existing lane configuration of North Boyer, north of the railroad tracks. If you envision from Moscow Way is the entrance to the base camp subdivision up to East Mountain View Road. This is what it looks like. We have 36-inch curb to curb with two 12-foot vehicle travel lanes, two 6-foot bike lanes, and it's a shared use path, but given that the bike lane exists on the street, you can't, what I have labeled there as a walking path is actually a 10-foot wide shared use path. It's not concrete, it's an asphalt pathway. Speed limit is 35 miles an hour. There are, beyond Moscow, there are no driveways coming into Boyer from the east, except for the old University of Idaho building there, which is not really used anymore. And there's only a couple of driveways to some churches coming in from the west, on the west. So this is a minor arterial truck route. That's an important classification for that right-of-way. The challenge that we're facing as we consider the idea of these University Place Phase 3 houses being reoriented towards Boyer is this current design clearly prioritizes vehicles over livability. Creates long inactive edges, and you're going to see on the next slide walled subdivisions to the north, where there's that that kind of internal facing subdivision development pattern north of East Mountain View. Without some redesign to how this right-of-way performs, it's going to be hard to achieve the neighborhood character that our comprehensive plan really envisions for new development in Sandpoint. So the opportunity here is to orient new homes towards Boyer with porches, yards, and slower traffic, safer traffic patterns. So this is just a little bit further to the north along North Boyer. I don't know exactly when this subdivision was built. I'm assuming in the 90s, because this is pretty much what all subdivision looked like throughout the 20th century. Um, uh, and this is what the University Place subdivision was envisioned to look like when it was approved in 2020. Not necessarily the vinyl wall. In fact, in the development agreement, it was articulated that only wood or masonry walls could be erected. But nonetheless, you can actually see one of the things I always point out to people on this picture and this stretch of North Boyer is that you can see a couple gaps in the fence there. That's where neighborhood kids have punched holes in the fence because they desperately want to be connected to the rest of Sandpoint. I don't think anybody likes living behind a plastic wall. So we're proposing a vision for North Boyer south of East Mountain View that could hopefully prevent this pattern of development in the near future. As Planning Commissioner Kate Huseman said back in 2020, the plastic canyon style of development. That's where that quote came from. So this is something that's been considered between Holly and myself. Very minor change, but it has a very major impact. We're talking about exploring the idea through commissioning of engineering and traffic studies to determine the feasibility of narrowing those vehicle travel lanes from 12 feet to 11 feet. Maintaining the 6-foot southbound bike lane, you can see that on the left of the image, but converting that 6-foot northbound bike lane, taking it a foot each from the 2 vehicle travel lanes and adding 2 feet to what is currently a bike lane and making it vehicle parking. Directing bicycle traffic onto the shared use path and striping and signing that shared use path as being a truly shared use path. Now, why vehicle parking instead of bicycles? The real idea here is traffic calming and creating a buffer between the front yards, potential front yards of the homes along the east side of Boyer and the flow of traffic. Also, narrowing vehicle travel lanes from 12 feet to 11 feet will naturally slow vehicle speeds. Parking vehicles on Boyer will slow vehicle speeds. These are the things we do in residential neighborhoods. We don't really have residential neighborhoods in Sandpoint that don't have street parking on them. So one way to make this a residential neighborhood is to accommodate vehicle parking on the street. Potential reduction of the speed limit from 35 miles to 25 miles per hour. As you know, Boyer is 25 miles per hour up to the railroad tracks. It only turns to 35 miles an hour north of the railroad tracks. This would, if the traffic study supported it, we would extend that 25 mile per hour zone up to East Mountain View Road, north of which we have more of that kind of 20th century subdivision development pattern already. Okay, are there any precedents for this? There's not a really good example of what the street would look like, but one example is just looking at South Boyer right now. This is South Sandpoint. What I like about this picture is it's not like I said, this is not a great representation. I think the curb to curb width is the same, 36 feet. But this has parking on both sides of the street. So there's 10-foot vehicle travel lanes here, not 11-foot like we're proposing. It's not a minor arterial. This is a purely local street. And there are driveways going out onto South Boyer. We are not proposing driveways going out into North Boyer. And you'll see on the next slide, driveways would be accessing these lots from the interior street. So that's really important on a minor arterial on a truck route. I'm hoping I'm impressing Holly here that I'm saying some correct things. You do not want, Holly, just nod if I'm right, you do not want driveways with people backing out onto minor arterials and truck routes.
You want to reduce your conflict points.
Correct. So that is not something we're proposing. So it's not just, there's only actually a couple driveways on this stretch of South Boyer. Most of these homes, as you know, are alley accessed parking in the rear. The picture on the upper part of the screen there, that's actually West Pine Street. This is the lane configuration that we have on West Pine, west of Division. So from Division to city limits, we've got an eastbound bike lane, no parking on the eastbound lane, but we have a really wide vehicle lane going westbound, which is not heavily used for parking because there's not a lot of houses along this stretch. It's mostly multifamily with their own off-street parking. But if you've ever driven west of Division on a day where there's a baseball game at the high school field there, every single parking spot is occupied on that westbound lane. So there is parking allowed there. And then there is also a shared use bike lane. And in fact, our signage does direct bike traffic onto that shared use bike path on the north side of West Pine. So it's almost an identical configuration to what we're proposing for North Boyer. Okay, so what impact might this have on the layout of the University Place Phase 3 development? This was an illustration shared by Luke from Cliff Mort's team.
I believe it's Levi.
Levi, I'm sorry, Levi. Luke's another team member with Monogram. Apologize, Levi. I think Luke might have shared this with you though, but we did, they did share these two conceptual kind of site layouts for lots in the phase 3 part of the subdivision. You can see in the one on the left, that's what they will do. This is what a version of what they might build if we do not make adjustments to the North Boyer lane configuration. You can see there's a very large setback, a large backyard. There would be a fence in that backyard, probably 7 feet tall. That's what code allows. And, big backyard with a kind of a traditional, driveway facing the interior street. The front of the house faces the interior street. On the right, we see a design that's under consideration, much smaller setback, a front porch facing Boyer, either a wrought iron or a white picket fence in the front yard, still creating some safety there. But I've put some street trees there. The little black circles are street trees. You can see that 10-foot pathway, the vehicle parking. So it would be something like 24 feet between the property line and the vehicle travel lane. So quite a large buffer between the edge of those front yards and where vehicles would be actually driving. That's part of the importance here. Is there'd be a much larger distance for safety separating the public realm from those front yards, or I should say the vehicle drive aisles from those front yards. And then you've got rear access parking there. You can see the 2 or 3 car garage in the backyard, which is actually facing the interior street. These are what are called double frontage lots. So they technically have 2 fronts to them. We're just talking about which one is going to appear to be the front of the house. Let's see. Yeah, and this whole idea of, eyes on the street. We want our development, and this is very consistent with our comprehensive plan. We've got some evidence here from various plans that we have adopted at the city, where I found evidence that would support this reconfiguration of the lanes on North Boyer. So particularly the comp plan, new neighborhoods are intended to emulate historic street-oriented patterns and discourage high-speed traffic in residential areas. That's right out of our recently adopted comp plan. So that's basically it. We're not looking for a decision tonight on whether to restripe North Boyer. That's really, we're now in no position to do that until we've commissioned a traffic study. Holly can talk a little bit more about what traffic studies entail, who might be involved in that, and answer any questions you have about the multimodal plan or how the street might function if we pursue this route.
Yeah, I would just add, absolutely would need to have an engineer look at this alternative if council was interested. It is a bit odd that it's asymmetrical. Typically, you'd have a bike lane on both sides of the street. The cross-section layout has a pretty narrow parking lane of 8 feet. That's about your minimum. So they might have concerns. It seems feasible at this point that cross-section is feasible and worth exploring. But it might not come back as a recommendation. So I do want to be transparent that this engineering effort could absolutely support that cross-section. They could have a revision or a different recommendation, but that would be the next step in effort to engage a traffic engineer and get their buy-off on that concept. They could also at that same time look at the speed limit reduction. They would look at the 85th percentile of the traffic speeds on that road and perhaps recommend a speed limit reduction.
Thanks, Holly. Did Mr. Mort or Levi want to speak tonight and just give any thoughts? I want to give them the opportunity before council has questions.
Sure, looks like Cliff will come up.
Good evening, Mr. Mort.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorary council members. Appreciate you listening to us. This came before us a couple of different times as we were working on several different projects. And the first comment, when I took it to my staff was, what the heck are they talking about? We're gonna actually have front yards on a busy street, and we're gonna have to try to sell this to families in Sandpoint. And then as we kind of reviewed it a little further, I mean, we've been in business for over 40 years and had a lot of different neighborhoods we've built out. And a lot of them, I mean, we do have a number of them in Coeur d'Alene that are real similar to this, where we actually develop properties that do front on streets that actually, some of them are across from parks. Some of them are along the river. Mill River was one that we did a number of years ago in Coeur d'Alene. And so we're familiar with the housing type. And one of the things that's been real difficult in Sandpoint when we came up here 7 years ago is just a knee-jerk reaction that I think occurred a lot of years ago when builders were building houses that, some of the people in Sandpoint didn't like. And it was probably a direct result of what was selling and people were wanting. But the front elevation, knee-jerk reaction of having to build a house that has a garage and then the front of the house has to be equal with the garage, it really limits a lot of type of housing, i.e. 3-car garages, et cetera. This proposal for University Place and Boyer would allow a whole lot more variety in there, which I personally would like to see, and I know our staff would like to see, and I'm sure everybody in the city, when it was built out, would like to see it, and it'll be more of a neighborhood that follows some of the same similar paths as South Boyer. I know everybody talks about South Boyer, but I think planning is doing a good job of selling us on the concept, but then also I think working together with them, we've kind of collaborated on a few ideas that I think will make housing better in Sandpoint. So I think Jason's done a real good job with that. I know Bill has. So, and it's, I got to compliment him, certainly Bill, and I've just now started working with Jason, our staff has. You guys have a real good planning staff here, and I know Jeremy knows that, but they're doing a great job, and the more we work with them, and I think the more seasoned they become, and Bill gets comfortable with what council wants, and then can pass that on to the general public, I think you're going to have a really good operation here. So anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Mort.
If you have any questions of me, feel free to shoot. So,
Council, any questions, thoughts on this for Mr. Mort at this time? And then we can kick it over to Holly and Jason.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council President.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Mort for allowing yourself to sit down with planning and hear some of their ideas and maybe switch directions partially through. I know there's a lot of investment and to change home designs and such like that, but I think fronting to the street, which I sat up here before when some of those other decisions were made, and this was the direction I thought would be really good for Sandpoint. That's obviously not what happened. So I'm very excited that we're back revisiting this and we can make this more of a neighborhood instead of I am friends with Kate, a plastic corridor. So I've driven many of those in Atlanta, where my sister lives, and it will be refreshing to see something different.
I think the one other point to add to that is I think what this would open up, in the event that we can slow down traffic, we can add some parking for neighborhood folks that would be coming and going. But I think it also opens up the possibility for some commercial, maybe on one end or the other, some neighborhood commercial that would allow for some of that collective traffic that as far as walkable space, I think that would help as well. And then I think that would also push into some of the developments that would occur to the west as time goes on. So,
any other questions for Mr. Mort? Thank you so much, Mr. Mort, and thank you for your faith and investment in our community. You are single-handedly one of the largest investors in our community, and appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any questions for Director Welker or Holly at this time?
Mr. Mayor, go ahead. No, you go.
Who would like to go first?
I go away.
Come on. Councilman Schreiber.
Thank you. I did have one question about the traffic study. Obviously, this is a truck route, and in our multimodal plan, it envisions a connection on Baldy Road to the highway. would this traffic study look at how that might change? I guess my concern here would be that study might not advise this traffic pattern, considering that we have it listed as a truck route and a lot of truck traffic on it. However, if you were to look at, the long-term plans in our multimodal plan, perhaps the traffic is going to look a little different than it does today.
So when we do the Baldy extension in our multimodal plan, it's one of our concepts. We are envisioning that we would revise our truck routes, eliminate division from the truck route, and then eliminate the southern portion of Boyer from the truck route. Is that the concept that you're alluding to?
Yes.
We could look at that. Yeah, absolutely. That is a long-term concept, so we'd have to make sure that we'd be able to live with this layout for potentially the next 10 to 20 years. So it would need to be an appropriate truck route today, and phase out in the future. This effort would largely be to just make sure that that cross section that Jason had on the screen earlier would support truck traffic, arterial traffic, and provide an adequate corridor for existing conditions primarily.
Perfect. And then do you think that there would be any issues or concerns with the fact that it ends, is it Moscow Street on the south end, and rather than being sort of urbanized the entire way up?
Just to clarify, maybe this wasn't clear. I don't know if Holly and I've discussed this fully either, but I think the idea would be to extend this traffic pattern up to East Mountain View Road. So there are fairly short-term improvements to that stretch of Boyer from like Super One up to the railroad tracks, right? I mean, the next 5 years, we're probably gonna do some pedestrian improvements through there, 10 years maybe. Because there's no bike lane at all down there.
This year, we're looking at that.
Yeah, I think
There is looking at that.
The west side and sidewalk on the west side.
Councilman Schreiber, I think, the question you're asking is, how does this interact and what are the potential fallouts from this on that Baldy extension and related? Can I just get you to maybe put more of a point on it? Would you generally be supportive of this new pattern?
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is that I'd like to see it expanded to the south and
Yeah,
not
okay,
just
great.
sort of a patchwork where it goes from Boyer south of Larch to sort of an industrial street and then back to a residential street. So I think we're definitely on the same page here.
Excellent.
And one of the options was, move forward with, bring up that last screen again.
Modifications to this.
Modifications, yeah, and so that was what I was asking for, is as we go forward with this, that we look at it sort of in a bigger picture of not just these couple blocks, but what's the longer term vision for this stretch of road? Are we going to build out that southern section in a similar pattern? Are we going to connect to the highway so that we maybe don't have as many trucks in the future? That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't want it to be just a snapshot of what exists right now and have that be a reason to not move forward.
Gotcha.
Understood. And our multimodal plan really did not discuss Boyer, oddly enough, so it was kind of a missing piece.
We need to revise it. I just have one question, Holly, not to put you on the spot. I hope this helps council discussion, but it's my understanding that the designation of a truck route, even if an engineer came back and said it isn't a preferred or doesn't meet the warrants or the criteria, we have the autonomy and ability to basically do what we want in a city for our streets. There's no federal rule that says you have to have.
But Boyer's a truck route because we have an adapted truck route based on how our trucks move throughout the city.
Yep.
So we have a quite an industrial development right off of Boyer, and so trucks frequent there. We build our roads along our truck routes to meet that heavy truck traffic. You might have been referring to the arterial classification. That is also just the reality of how many how many vehicles are using that road. It's just, that classification is based on counts. There were,
But there's no federal restriction. We have the autonomy to make those decisions as a municipality or as a council.
we can revise our truck routes and keep trucks on different roads. That would require us to redesign roads wherever we put those new trucks. The classifications of the roads are defined, so we can't change classifications, but we can revise our truck route.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
if you're
Fair.
finished, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. That's what I was wondering. Why just that little short piece? But then you would have to talk to the developers all the way to Ebbet, whatever they plan on doing. And I'm looking at the GIS map for the county and the way it's platted out from Moscow, that little bit, there's that big dip in there that's wetland. That can't have anything on it. I'm sure you understand that. And then that building, like you said, from the U of I, that I would like to see the same thing, conformity in that. If this is something we're gonna try to do, just that little piece, and you're going back and forth from 35 to 25. I have to say 25 doesn't slow people down because I live on Lake and they just haul on Lake and it's 25, and Pine, same thing. Anyway, that's aside. But the parking, who's gonna park on the road? If their driveways and their garages are behind their houses, who would park on the road? And I think the parking on the road would be dangerous for anybody getting in and out, especially the driver on that side. I love the 10-foot lanes, the smaller lanes, and I love that bike lane big, because that's not a fun ride on your bike, on the sidewalk or in the bike lane on either side. Then I wonder too, snow, and maybe I'm getting too involved, snow removal, where you've got the parking on the right. Where's the snow gonna go on I love the thing with the trees too. I mean, I think that's ideal. But I just have questions, I guess, about how it's gonna all function. And I'd like to see it more of that as well.
Thanks, Councilwoman Duquette. And I'll just bring your attention to Ontario. This traffic calming, it's a real thing. Think of a football game or a big event at Memorial Field, and the traffic drives much slower when there are people parked on both sides of the
Both
street.
sides of the street, they don't have it.
And I can imagine, visitors or even residents in these homes parking on the street, because then they don't have to go to a stop sign and it's just more convenient. I think snow is an issue we're gonna have to think about.
They'd have to cross a bike path. They'd have to carry things from their car, cross a bike path, across the median strip, across the sidewalk, into their house. I don't see that people who live there are going to want to park there myself. But
Any other
visitors, I guess.
Any other council questions? It sounds like we've got two in support.
Yeah, I'm also supportive. Just a quick comment. I love the narrowed lanes. I really love the parking living in South Sandpoint and seeing how much of a traffic calming measure. I do hate the single bike lane. I understand that we're limited by space, but to have some sort of a curb when we've got bicycle traffic going, and we all know in Sandpoint, they're right in the street, on the bike lane, on the shoulder, on the shared path, through my restaurant, however it is. But I think that could easily be overcome with some great signage on that shared path, as well as some flexible delineator posts as well. So, yeah, looking forward to see what the study comes back with.
Just to add a comment, and Jason can verify this, those developments closer to the track, as I recall, the way they are set up to be built, they are going to be road facing in that part. So we're talking about the further north development. I would agree that if we could manage the traffic study all the way back to Super One and really make this a continuous thing as those other new developments come forward all the way down, so we have more of a uniform type street down there. And I think, yeah, that was all the additional. I think Jason was nodding his head over there, so.
Thank you, Council President Rule. You are correct. The original southern portion was going to have townhomes facing the street, but that plat was expired, you may recall.
Oh, so that, okay, I wasn't
we're back
sure if
to-
that was the one to the street or if that was the one further back. That
We've
was
got
the
a
more
clean
further
slate
east.
there, so
Okay.
this might inform future development there, which would be cool.
Okay.
Councilman Howarth, any comments?
I do, and I will be the contrarian. I love the idea. Don't get me wrong, I think we're far too late. Boyer has been developed the way it's been developed, as you said, many years ago. The difference between South Boyer and North Boyer, South Boyer isn't an alternate truck route, where North Boyer is. Vastly, vastly different. I'm with Pam that, you know, to get somebody to park on the street, to walk across the bike lane or the strips or whatever is not feasible, really, in practicality. So I do think we need to slow down the traffic, but the fact that it's an alternate truck route is a non-starter for me. Plus the fact that most of North Boyer has already been developed behind fences. To go put a quarter-mile section where we change that serves no real value to the city. You don't get the aesthetic value that you're really thinking you're going to get, because it's a strip that's one way, and then all of a sudden we have this quarter mile that's another way, and then, you know, farther north it's already behind the fences. And so I love the idea. I just think we're very, very too late to really go make a meaningful impact. And so for those reasons, I would say no to the traffic study. I am in favor of finding a way, though, to slow down the traffic, but I don't think it's narrowing because, again, it's trucks. I think we just go impose a slower speed limit on the north part of Boyer, but 25 miles an hour. We do that on Division already, so.
And Holly, just a follow-up question, as part of at least initial analysis, would we get some sort of breakdown on truck versus pedestrian or vehicular, single-family, vehicle trips?
We would get vehicle trips. Yeah, absolutely. And it's less about, a lot of it is the volume of the traffic, the size of the vehicles. So the fact that this is a truck route means that there's larger vehicles.
And
So we'll have actual data.
And Holly, can you just give us a rough ballpark of what a traffic study costs?
It depends on the effort that we're looking for. So how large?
If we did the full scope from.
That would be from Spruce Street to East Mountain View, and it's 4,600 feet.
I've been involved with a few. Do you have some numbers, Holly? I know.
Very high level, between $10,000 and $20,000.
With the engineering analysis and everything? Thank you.
May I again?
One final comment. I think
Okay.
we've
A
heard
question on that too is, where does that money come from? I'm curious.
We have some engineering efforts budgeted for. It would have to come out of our general fund because it's related to our streets. So streets engineering effort.
Okay, thanks. You know what I do think, though, that maybe trucks will then take Fifth Avenue more.
Well,
maybe
we'll see. Well, sounds like there's
Instead of going down.
general council support to move forward, and I'll work with staff to look at the budget and what changes we might have to make, or how that's going to affect the streets budget. So thank you so much, council.
That's
Staff?
an action item, I believe.
Oh, was it? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Council President, was that an action item? Yes. Oh, great. Thank you so much. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Rule, second by Councilman Dick. This will be a roll call. Any discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Howarth,
No.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you so much. Moving back, thank you, staff. I hope you have the clarification you need. Picking up item 14, next is a proposed contract award for the 2024 paving maintenance project, which is our single road project, I'm sorry to say, this year. in the city. I'll now yield the floor to Director Ellis and Eric Bush.
Good evening. Good evening, counselors. Eric Bush, Project Manager, City Forester. Bear with me 1 second while I share my screen. All right, it's on its way. So I'm gonna go, before you is our 2025 paving maintenance project, which is Pine Street from Division to Boyer. So right across the street here on the other side of Pine Street Park. This project was identified by our pavement condition assessment, excuse me, that was completed in 2020 as a high priority project, primarily due to its role as a arterial street in Sandpoint, and the current condition of it is ranked as moderate in most places of the corridor. And the reason for this project is so we can kind of maintain its status and improve its status. So basically, this is a mill and overlay project. It's removing 2 inches of asphalt and replacing 2 inches of asphalt. We're able to do that because the road base is in good condition currently. If we let it kind of get too far gone, it wouldn't be able to be mill and overlaid. It would be a far more expensive project. And in addition to 2 inches of new asphalt, there's ADA improvements, which is primarily curb ramps and striping of pedestrian crossings. This project would increase the lifespan of the asphalt of Pine Street in this stretch for approximately 15 to 20 years. So it's a well-needed project in this location. I think my screen froze. Oh, there we go. Well-needed project in this location, and I'm sure you all know the condition of Pine Street. I drive it every day. We've got a tight timeline for this. Obviously, we're getting into the cold season. So we're gonna start construction on Monday, October 20th, and that would be concrete work. So the ADA ramps primarily. We've got a couple weeks of bad looking weather coming up. So the intention would be to start concrete work, and that work is less affected by weather, that we can bring in blankets to ensure the concrete has its appropriate temperatures to cure. And then we'll be looking for that window in early November of about a week, 3 to 5 days likely, to get the asphalt removed and replaced. If the weather turns and we don't get that window, the asphalt will just remain as is for the fall, and we'll pick this project up in the spring and complete it. So we won't have a torn up street or anything like that all winter. So this project's funded by the Resort City tax. The contract amount in front of you with Interstate Concrete and Asphalt is $287,596. And that's all I have. Happy to stand for any questions.
Council, do you have any questions for Holly or Eric?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
can't help it. Any way you can do traffic calming
So,
on that street?
absolutely. And Jason is still here. He'll be excited to hear. When you're on Pine Street, you'll notice a lot of people they park along Pine Street, particularly the north side, and many residents feel the need to park up on the curb and into the planter strip. We've verified and went out and measured. There's adequate space for parking on both sides of Pine Street and 2 travel lanes. After this project is done, our crews are going to go out and actually mark, it's L's and T's, similar to downtown, actually mark out parking stalls so that those who are parking on Pine Street will feel more comfortable parking on Pine Street and not feel the need to pop the curb. That's going to provide narrower travel lanes, which will be traffic calming, and we'll also have parking on both sides of the street, added traffic calming.
Great, thank you. And one more. truck signs, no truck signs replaced, please. I've asked at least 5 times. There used to be a no truck sign on Boyer, at Pine, and at Division at Pine. And they're not there anymore. They did have green ones that said they were a truck route, but it's not a truck route. And so when Stapleton was still here, I talked to her and she had them taken down so that they weren't saying that. But could we please put the signs back that say no truck route from that section? Please.
We can absolutely look at
Thank
adding
you.
that. It seems like I agree. It seems like a good location
And
for it.
They used to be
truck,
there.
A signage inventory is something that we should look at. We have many signs that we need to do an inventory of citywide, but we can start at this location.
Thank you. And I would like to thank you for putting that 95 finally back a little bit for trucks not to exit in Sandpoint. I saw it the other night.
Council members, that reminds me, something I've not mentioned to you that's happened in the last couple of weeks is we have engaged in a new GIS service provider and working with all the departments. We're working on fine tuning, updating our GIS. It's in the budget. So you're not having to go to the Bonner County GIS. And one of the things we can do is add signs and things like that. So we're all at City Hall very excited about that effort. Any other questions for Holly or Eric on this item? I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution agreement with Interstate Concrete and Asphalt Company for construction contract for the 2025 paving maintenance project on Pine Street, city agreement number A25-3100-2.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by Dick. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you so much, council. Finally, jumping back to the item removed from consent, number 9 by Councilman Howarth. Councilman Howarth, please proceed.
Yes, and I will make this quick. This is a very minor change. The stated chair of the Bonner County Board of Commissioners in our document is Asia Williams. That has changed to Brian Domke. And so the only reason I pulled it off is to make us aware that we need to, as we sign that, it needs to be with Brian Domke.
Thank you, Councilman Howarth. Any questions from council? With that, go ahead, Cheryl.
Just an FYI on that, that item as well, it states that the 2% that is annual after the 4% starts October 1, 2027. My error, it's 2026. So the 2% will start in October 1, 2026. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. So is there a motion to approve resolution First Amendment to legal services with Bonner County Prosecutor City Agreement A24-1530-1 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dick, second by Howard. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And with no further business on the agenda, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:18 p.m.